Don't you notice how I get quiet when there's no one else around? Me and you and awkward silence. Don't you dare look at me that way. I don't need reminders of how you don't feel the same. Oh, the burning pain. Listening to you harp on about some new soulmate. She's so perfect, blah, blah, blah. Oh, how I wish you'd wake up one day. Run to me, confess your love. At least just let me say that when I talk to you, won't you bet what's right through and shoot right arrow through my heart. And I sound like a loon, but don't you feel it to confess I loved you from the start.
What's a girl to do?
Lying on my bed staring into
Had to come in just to say that line.
unrequited, terrifying. Love is driving me a bit insane. Have to get this off my chest. I'm telling you today that when I talk to you,
I want to headbang. The model doesn't do it. I have to wiggle myself slower than I want. Hi, welcome in everybody.
Confess I love you from the start.
Right? Nice and feminine. Hi. Welcome in everybody. Hi Chris, hi Annie, hi Neo. Oh, goodness. You know, chat, you're lucky I went live today. Mostly because you get to experience a story. We're voice acting again today. Except also you're lucky I went live because it took me until 10 a.m. to get out of bed. I know, right? It's ridiculous. Slaps credit card on table.
Give me a headbanging animation.
Exactly. Well, the thing is, I would need to get my own model, you know? I can't really customize this model more than I have. Like, it's kind of a pre-packaged thing. You know, assets and all that. I don't think I can add, like, animations to it. Why are you bonking me? What did I do? What did I do? But yeah, welcome in everybody. I hope we're having a good day. It's time for story time. We're going to be reading the second half of Stolen Tongues. Ooh. And I'm pretty happy with my beautiful thumbnail today. I actually, I don't know, themed it based on the story.
Oh.
Also, I've discovered something. Are you ready for this, chat? This is what happens when I hit the delete key. My tits grow in size and my outfit changes. There we go. Ooh, I put myself back. It's ridiculous. I don't know why the delete key does that. I cannot figure it out. And I have no idea how to make it stop doing that. Cute white outfit. It's the base outfit that comes with the model. Yeah, it is cute though. So yeah, if you want to see what the model's outfit looks like, this is the model default. God, she's got huge tits. Woo. Yeah, this is how they like ship the. Oh, looking at my tootsies. Woo. Yeah, this is how they ship the model, which is nice. It's pretty, but I want my outfit. I want my cute little outfit. Plus, like, I mean, look how this skirt just goes. Oh, whoa, feet. Oh, whoa. By the way, how you doing, Annie? Sound of my headbanging. I love headbanging. All right, so chat, here's proof for you that you can stream. Everyone's always like, oh, I bet streamers are massive extroverts, and it's so easy for them. I'm good at talking, but I'll let you know something. I am terrified to go live every time I press the go live button, and the headbanging helps. Is there a hotkey menu in the VTube studio? Yes. Yes, there is. I've gone through it multiple times with Amanda as well, and it's not at all done correctly that way. Like, for some reason, it's not like it's bound to the delete key. I don't get it. Doing fine being an office girly. Oh my god. Does that mean you're going around seducing all the office men? Oh my god. I do anything for a I do anything for a promotion, boss-san. Boss senpai. No. Why did becoming an anime girl make me do shit like that? It didn't. I've been doing that shit this whole time. Yeah, who wants to get into the story? It's story time. So we're gonna do a little rundown of what we read last Monday. We read the first part of a story called Stolen Tongues. Now, this story was something that was originally created on r/NoSleep 10 years ago. I was 21. When this story came out, I was able just then to drink alcohol. I didn't. I was a big loser. I didn't have alcohol till I was 20, I think it was 4. Yeah, I'm a loser. I've never been out clubbing. Never been to the club. Has anyone in my chat ever been to the club? I feel like people who watch Twitch aren't really club goers. Or at least people who watch me. People always get a little wacky when they become VTubers. There's the sense of anonymity. See, but I don't have the anonymity. I just think it's really... Okay, watch my model. Watch my model. Every few seconds, it's going to do this. And you're going to wonder why. And you're going to think, oh, maybe you're reading chat. Nope. I'm looking at me. I'm on my second monitor over there. Hi, me. Hi, me. I see you. So I keep getting locked into looking at my own model. You've been to a club? Really? You've been out clubbing, Neo? Does art club count? Only if my Magic the Gathering club counted. Only if that counts. Okay. I was talking about something. My ADHD meds. I should take those. Yeah. Where are they? That's vitamin D. That's lamotrigine. That's estrogen. There we go. There's my Adderall. Huh? Delicious. So, take your day of meds, girl. They're as needed. I take my big girl medication in the morning. I used to drink heavily like 15 years ago. It's only 30. Uh-oh. Excuse me. So what you're saying is you were a troubled youth. A troubled youth. You need them all the damn time? Yes. Next question. So, we were reading a story last week. 10 years old, I just covered that. And it is, of course, a spooky story, as pretty much what we're going to cover on Mondays. I have our next Monday lined up. It's a story, an OG creepypasta called Ted the Caver. Ooh. But after that, I'm totally open. So if y'all have any creepypastas or scary stories or stuff like that, oh my god, look at her go. Look at her go. I'm just tilting my head back and forth. I mean, I'm wiggling my hips in real life. So yeah, if you have any spooky stories that you want to share and you want me to cover them, I'd be more than happy to take a look at them. So just toss them in the Discord. But this story, we read the first half of it. originally titled My Romantic Cabin Getaway. And now this story was about a couple that decided to go into their family's cabin in the middle of winter. First of all, never go to a cabin in winter. You will get snowed in. If I've read one, I've read 1,000 stories about cabins where the second those assholes get into the cabin, it snows them in. Bullshit. Secondly, they start hearing creepy sounds in the middle of the night, every night around 1 a.m. And as we discover through the course of the story, there's something in the woods that is trying to take over Faye, his wife's body. And she gets more and more creepy. She's sleepwalking. She's talking in her sleep. Something is outside and is mimicking the same movements as her. So we get through this story. Oh God, the music just popped off. The husband decides to go back to the cabin where he's going to try to break the curse. He finds his wife's wedding ring inside of a creepy dream catcher. Once he removes that, he effectively unleashes the spirit. So that he fell into the spirits, into the spirits' clammy little palms. He survives the night, and he manages to get rescued. Then the story, quote unquote, ended. The part one, basically, the first half, ended with a Native American shaman, I guess, talking to them over the phone and making them throw up some black goop. And the final line of the last story was, "I love that you tried so hard," is what his wife said. So we're gonna hop back into the beginning of it. Well, I guess not the beginning. We're gonna hop back into the beginning of the second part, titled "The Mystery Unravels." Ooh. All right, let's switch over to our main screen. Oh no, I'm tiny. No, I'm in the void. Chat, help! Chat, help me! Ah! How we looking? Oh, we're looking decent. We're looking good. Yeah. Covering you up in my big old head. Possible fix for you to investigate for the outfit thing. Outfits on VTuber models are usually implemented as expressions. So if there's a hotkey that removes all expressions, like quickly resetting your mood toggles, I'll have to look into that, Chris. That's a good idea. I haven't thought of that yet. All right. Chat, I need some ones. I need some ones in chat. If you're ready for story time, I will also accept sassy people saying 2. I will not accept 3s. If I see a single 3, I'm a permaban. And let's get on our creepy music, too. This one's titled Scary Halloween Music Creepy Mix 1. Ooh. The secret 5 technique. Neo, I don't even know if you're a mod on... Yeah, you're not even a mod on YouTube, Neo. I can ban the fuck out of you. It won't do anything. Put user in timeout for 10 seconds. Boom, that's what you get. Get time. Oh, it deleted all your messages. No! I always forget that timing someone out deletes their messages. Hi, Pig.
Got that thing caught in my throat.
Hi, Pig. How you doing? All right. God, all her messages are gone. She's been erased from existence. I snapped my fingers and my best friend disappeared. Doing good? Me too. You just missed the whole synopsis of the creepy story we're reading, so buckle in. All right. We'll make an effort to see more streams? Hell yeah. You've been erased. I've been betrayed. Disgraced. I've been erased. Who knows that song? You get bonus brownie points if you know what that song is. I'll do it better. Betrayed, disgraced, you've been erased. Thanos snapped. And then you just wait here. Here we go. Me getting Thanos snapped. Lion King 2. 10 more seconds. No, I'm not gonna do it again. All right. We are getting back into Stolen Tongues. Oh, I need to record. Okay. We are getting back into Stolen Tongues. The mystery unravels. Part 11. My fiancée Faye is behaving strangely again. Last month, my fiancée Faye and I went to her parents' cabin. Okay, they're doing a little recap. Okay, that's easy. Okay, good. Last month, my fiancée Faye and I went to her parents' cabin up in Pikes Peak, Colorado, and we had a set of extremely weird and terrifying experiences. We found an old dream catcher on a tree in the woods out back, and at night, we heard a series of unsettling voices calling out from the forest. At first, we thought someone was messing with us, but then the voices began to take on recognizable traits. We heard Faye's grandfather calling for help. He's been dead since 2012. And my mother laughing. She lives 700 miles away. Faye got sick and began talking in her sleep, and at one point, the voice of a woman outside began to repeat some of the things Faye was mumbling, as though they were communicating. Ooh, okay, I'm already back into it. Ooh. Well, like I said in the beginning, though, if you have any scary stories for me to read, definitely put them in the Discord. Or if you're watching the YouTube video, put them in the comments. I have a couple lined up that I want to do, especially next week. We're doing Ted the Caver. Absolute classic and terrifying to me because I have horrible claustrophobia. Yay! So now we're going to be jumping back in. I'm sorry I haven't posted about this matter in a while, but Faye and I have been trying to forget, especially with her weird sleep disorder. The best course of action for us was to try to bury what had happened and move on with our lives. The more upset or stressed out she becomes, the more she sleepwalks and sleep talks, and that's when scary things happen. For those of you who haven't read the prior stories, my fiancée has suffered from extensive sleep disturbances since she was 5. She's had night terrors and is an accomplished sleepwalker. At the request of Redditors, I've interviewed her, which last time we checked, this link was dead. I think it still is. Yeah. Unfortunate. Long story short, some sort of entity became fixated upon her while we were at the cabin in Colorado and made several attempts to coax her into the woods. When those attempts failed, it came after me. It followed us home to California and tried to get into our house at night by communicating with Faye while she sleepwalked. We were both exposed to whatever it was, to the point it made us ill. A family friend, Nathan, essentially forced us to puke our guts out in a spiritual purging process. Although I wish he told us first because we destroyed my living room carpet. Womp womp. Oh no, my carpet got destroyed by my black goop sludge. Oh no. God, I can't believe Nathan would do this to me. We thought it over. Also, no mention that Nathan's father was killed and skinned alive by the creature. No mention. We're just gonna glaze past the fact that Nathan's poor dad was skinned alive, and he's like, "Ooh, Nathan didn't tell me that he's gonna purge me of an evil demon." Yeah, motherfucker, his dad was killed by the thing that's inhabiting your wife. Of course he's gonna make her throw up. Dummy. We thought it was over. They went back to normal and returned to her playful, funny self. She got her strength back, and not just physically, but the strength of her personality returned as well. She's been feisty and won't put up with any of my shit, which is a great sign she's feeling better. And she's been wearing her engagement ring. It hasn't left her finger since we got it back. But 2 nights ago, weird things started to happen. I absolutely dread writing this because I know that by paying attention to it, I risk exacerbating the situation. The part of the carpet where we lost our lunch is permanently stained and rather dark, because I couldn't afford to get a decent carpet cleaner out in time. When we were watching and crying through the new Game of Thrones, Ew. I knew our protagonist was kind of cooked, but chat, the new Game of Thrones. Come on. We all knew that. We all know how that turned out. Honestly, I'll tell you what, I dodged that shit. Everyone was telling me to watch it because I loved the books, right? But I decided that I wasn't gonna, because I got through, I think, season 1, and then they just started changing so much shit from the books and removing characters that were really important and adding in like a bunch of unnecessary like rape scenes that like it felt kind of fetishistic. Like, yeah, there's rape in the books, but usually it's accompanied by something that isn't just, oh, look, a rape scene. But, I don't know. I got out early, and I'm glad I did, because I was not invested when Season 8 happened. So, pats on your head for all the people who had to suffer through that. Actually, do I have any Game of Thronesers in chat? Anyone who was, like, obsessed with that when it was coming out? Actually, the most I've seen of Game of Thrones is people ripping it and putting it up on goddamn, like, YouTube shorts with dumb, like, Vine boom sound effects added to them. And I'm like, please stop showing me 15 different iterations of Tyrion Lannister doing some shit, you know? What were we doing? My ADHD is going crazy. I be stimming. 1-800-I-be-stimmin'. While we were watching and crying through the new Game of Thrones on Sunday, Faye pointed out that the stain looked like the shape of a man. It's about 3 feet long and basically looks like some two-dimensional troll. We made some Rorschach jokes about it and then went to bed. I would have torn up that carpet. If I threw up alien goo, if I threw up like some like haunted goo on my floor, that carpet would be gone. I rolled over in the middle of the night to put my hand on Faye's back, and the second I touched that empty space in the bed, 1,000 horrible thoughts rushed through my head. Faye hasn't sleptwalked since the thing settled down, and I feared it was an omen that our visitor had returned. Let me turn on music slightly. It's a little loud. I found her downstairs. She was sitting in the dark, spine straight, right in front of the TV. It was off. Her eyes were closed, but she was running her fingers across the stain on the carpet, whispering to it, and giggling. I raced over and threw the light on, foregoing my rule of never waking her up abruptly from a bout of sleepwalking. I didn't just want this to be happening again. I couldn't accept it. I just stood. Just before I shook her awake, she said, "How could I forget?" She came to, and had no idea where she was. She seemed unusually upset that I'd woken her up, as if she were in the middle of a very good dream, but then appeared frightened when I told her what was happening. I asked her if she remembered anything, but she said no. I can't tell if she lied to me. She's lying. Hey, she's lying. Women be lying and eating hot chip, and I do not see a hot chip, so bitch be lying. On her way up the stairs, she inexplicably vomited all over the wall. It was the same dark brown black color as when Nathan poisoned us. At this point, I was completely freaking out. I tried to keep my cool and help Faye into bed, got her some water, and made sure she was all right. She was absolutely fine and couldn't explain why she puked, because she's got a demon in her! She knows that she had a demon in her. So unless she currently has a demon in her, and the demon's all like, "Oh, I'm in control now," the bitch knows why she's vomiting. Then I shut off the light, closed the bathroom door, and spent about half an hour trying to clean the goddamn wall off. I've mentioned in my previous post that I'm an emetrophobe, so cleaning vomit is basically the worst form of punishment I can imagine. But something distracted me from the horrid stench. No matter how hard I scrubbed, the stain would not come out, and it had splattered roughly in the shape of a man. Because of the fact that Faye was standing halfway up the stairs and barfed down the wall, this time the stain was much longer. Much longer than the one on the carpet, almost 5 feet tall. I'm sorry, is she making vomit portals? Is she showing us the hole in the wall, aka Nickelodeon show style, but with vomit? I'm upset. This story is deeply yucky. When I finally got into bed, Faye was still awake and was kind of enough. Reset! When I finally got into bed, Faye was still awake and was kind enough to give me a really nice shoulder rub as I laid there in a heap. I was nauseated and terrified. She tried to reassure me, but we both knew what was happening. Whatever it is that's fascinated with her, it's back. Or it never left. I don't know how long we sat there talking, but eventually I passed out, Faye lying in my arms. She said a few more things in her sleep, but I could never quite catch them. I was just too tired. The next day, I tried to reach out to Nathan, but he wasn't answering his phone. Nathan's dead. They got Nathan too, god damn it. I had to work, so I didn't see Faye all day, and I got home before she did, so I spent several hours jumping at every sound outside while grading my students' final papers. When she got home, she said she felt sick all day and just wanted to go to sleep, so she went upstairs and showered, then got into bed. Around 10:30 p.m., I shut off my laptop and headed upstairs. You haven't checked on your demon-possessed, demon-vomiting wife who... You were sitting downstairs all night grading fucking children's papers, and you're like, oh, maybe my wife is upstairs and is totally not vomiting. The scariest thing here is that guy's a teacher, right? Bro should not be teaching. Bro's head is empty. Bro's head is full of beans. Bro's got dried fucking beans rattling around in his skull instead of a brain, and he's like, ooh, my demon wife. I love it when she vomits out a demon stain. I'm not gonna check on her. I want to be surprised by the demon stain upstairs. Wee, 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 wee. Wee, 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 wee. Jesus, beans. Exactly. Me and the boys at 3 a.m. looking for beans. He really just wants to bang the demon. I'm saying. He's like, oh no, my wife is possessed by a horrifying skin-flaying demon. Oh no. Yeah, bro just wants some demonussy. Bro about to hit the Necronomicon combined with the Karma Sutra. Bro got the Necronomicon but replaced every other page with the page from the Karma Sutra. And he's like, please work, please work, please work. I summon you, sex demon. What the fuck was I doing? Reading a story. Around 10:30 p.m., I shut off my laptop and headed upstairs. Faye was sitting on the bed, feet on the ground, staring out the open window into the woods across the street. No shit, bud. I gently laid her down, rubbed her back until she snored. That's the only way to guarantee she won't get up for a long time. And inspected the whole house. I don't know if I'm just freaking myself out or if I'm tired, but the vomit stain seems bigger now than they were before. I'm calling a guy tomorrow to come do a professional cleaning, but I'm pissed because I know it's going to get stuck with a $200 bill. Priorities. God, I'm going to redo that line without laughing. I'm calling a guy tomorrow to come do a professional cleaning, but I'm pissed because I know I'm going to get stuck with a $200 bill for the job. I checked the backyard and didn't see anything. Then made sure the front door was locked and all the windows were sealed tight. The last window I checked was the one in the guest room, the one which Faye had drawn the number 5 backwards while sleepwalking. Oh, that's okay. For a reminder for people who were not here during the first reading, Faye has been possessed, obviously, but the possession isn't fully able to currently. The reason why is there's parts of Faye's mind the demon or whatever it is can't access, and it's the secret of this number 5. We don't know why it's significant. We just know that if the demon doesn't know what the 5 means, it cannot take over Faye. That's all we know. His wife is getting possessed by a demon. He's worrying about a bill, right? I cannot be crazy here. The second I vomited out a vaguely person-shaped black vomit. Now, it doesn't even need to be person-shaped. The second I vomit out black demon liquid, I am getting a goddamn box cutter and stripping that carpet. That carpet will be gone. That wallpaper, gone. In fact, I wouldn't even stay in that house anymore. Should we have a reading recommendations channel in the server? Ooh, yeah, actually, that's a really good idea. I need to do that right now, otherwise I'll forget. Let's see. General, create a new channel, text. Story suggestion. Create channel. And then I gotta edit it, I think. Permissions, everyone. Everyone's allowed to send messages. That should be good, I think. Yeah, that should be good. If that doesn't work and I'm missing something, let me know. But there's a new story suggestions spot on the Discord now. I stood there for a long time. It was late and dark, and all of the memories of last month's events just kept cycling through my mind over and over. I felt dizzy and sleepy, almost hypnotized. It was a strange feeling, an ineffable mixture of strange relaxation and terror. I cannot explain to you why I did this, but without even thinking about it, I reached out my hand and lazily drew a backwards 5 on the window. And in that tiny little moment, I saw something move behind the trees across the street. Faye abruptly burst into sleep laughter from down the hall. As I walked back to the bedroom in the dark, I could hear her giggling the entire way. Nothing else to report! Nothing else. I got nothing else to report. That's it. Just my creepy wife giggling in the night. Nothing else to report for now. It's 10:30 p.m. Tuesday as I write this, and I'm going to go to sleep. We'll update if there are any new developments. I pray there aren't any. Yeah, okay. Okay. Well, hey, that was a short part. It's probably just like an introduction to get back into it, but we have 12 through 16 now. All right, let's get into it. Part 12. Oh, just my fiance Faye is behaving strangely again. Part 2. Electric Boogaloo. God, I don't think I have a... Let me see something real quick. Oh, goodness. Nope, not that one. Oh, okay. So, we are currently doing a goal right now for a tripod to get a camera for the cat and the dog. So I have the camera, and I wanted to show off Kitty. I know, my face is on screen. How weird is that? But right now, we're working up a goal to get a tripod to put a little camera up for this girl and for the dog. Mwah. VTuber face reveal. Oh, don't look at me. What do you mean I'm not an anime girl? I do actually, chat. I was telling Neo this, but I think I might be shaving my beard soon. I'm starting to feel almost confident enough to shave my beard. Maybe. Maddie nuked her own stream. No. I was just trying to get the camera up. That's all.
We were lied to.
GLaDOS, no! I would never lie to you, my computer wife. Don't tell my wife. A lot of Redditors have mentioned that since I retrieved Faye's ring from the creepy dreamcatcher, it's possible that it's been cursed. After all, the ring was given back to me. It could be what is causing the new disturbances around my house. So, Faye and I have decided to take a long trek back to Pikes Peak. Mother, why would you go back to Pikes? Pikes Peak. Why would you go back? Why on earth would you do that? So Faye and I have decided to take the long trek back to Pikes Peak, from whence the evil ring came, and destroy it by throwing it into the mine at the top of the mountain. We've gathered a fellowship of 7 other people to help us on this journey. Oh, okay, sorry, just kidding. I was about to lose my shit. I was about to lose my shit. I was like, is this motherfucker really turning this into the Fellowship of the Goddamn Ring? No, okay, he's just oh, I was about to crash out. I was about to crash out so hard. Sudden beatbox stream. Oh yeah. My brother was really good at beatboxing. Just kidding, but seriously, a lot of people have speculated that the ring is now the problem. I'm taking this into consideration, but Faye is not willing to be a part. I'm taking this into consideration, but Faye is not willing to part with it right now, seeing as how she just got it back. But if the entity seeking Faye did curse the ring and got me to break the Dreamcatcher to retrieve it, it's even more clever than I could have anticipated. More on this if I decide to make a move. Just destroy the ring.
Cast it into the fire. Destroy it. This sealed door.
I really need to rewatch Lord of the Rings. Extended edition, specifically. I'm a kind of girly who needs the extended edition, you know what I'm saying? I need it to last a long time. We had a professional carpet cleaning service come out yesterday and try to tackle the puke stain situation. The guy told me over and over,
"That's not vomit. I can get vomit out."
it took him a long time, but he finally managed to get most of the stain off the carpet in the living room and recommended we get checked out at the hospital. I told him we already had. Some parts of the carpet are still spotted and ruined. He gave me a discount. The wall in the stairwell is another story. The guy took one look at it and said we needed to paint it. I insisted the stain had to be removed before doing so. He told me to strip and sand the wall, or he could come back and do it on his day off for a small fee. I told him I'd take care of it. He made an exorcism joke and left. I wasn't amused. Baron! How you doing, Baron? Oh, sorry.
My liege, how are you doing today, Baron?
Okay, Baron, I have a small request. As the Baron of this land, am I allowed to have a drink of Monster Energy? I need the Baron's permission before I continue. Faye came home very excited yesterday. She got a promotion at her job. We celebrated by going out to dinner at our favorite steakhouse. She ordered her normal meal, thank God, and had a few drinks. I don't drink at all. Same. Not like as a,
I never drink alcohol.
but like I don't drink alcohol usually. I smoke a shit ton of weed. I need to figure out a way to make like a weed toggle for this model. Which monster are we talking about here? Trans monster, of course. Femboy monster. It's the white one. You drink it and it makes you gay / trans / femboy. Mm-hmm. What happened to me? Yeah, you drink enough white monster and it just it does it. But yeah, how are you doing, Baron? I don't drink at all, so I was the designated driver for the evening. When we got home, we pretty much went right to bed, and on the way up the stairs, she drunkenly said, "Fuck that guy," and pointed a lazy hand at the stain in the wall. I think she means fuck the demon, not fuck the cleaner guy, but the white monster is laced with estrogen. Oh, I'm double dosing! Yo, I'm multi-track estrogen dosing. Damn it, I didn't know that. I got the estrogen pills and they got estrogen in the monster. Let's go. Fuck that guy. That night I had a very strange dream. I dreamed I was trying to scrub the stain off the wall, just like I had a few days ago. But this time I was scrubbing in the dark. Moonlight was just barely seeping through the window and illuminating the outline of the stain, which looked more like a man than ever before. It loomed over me as I crouched there on the stairs. But then, something weird happened. The wall underneath the stain turned mushy like oatmeal and gave way on my hand. My arm went right through the drywall. When I pulled it out, there was a faint light coming through the hole. I pushed more and more of the squishy wall away. It crumbled and plopped onto the floor and on the other side. At last, I cleared a hole big enough to squeeze through. It led to a familiar place. I realized I was where the second I stepped in. It It was freezing cold. Even in the dream, I was in this... Oh, it was freezing cold, even in the dream. I was in the cellar of the cabin where I found all of those jars with that hair, where I'd found the pieces needed to make more dream catchers. I felt instantly afraid, and turned around to go back into my house, but the wall was sealed shut. The only way out of the cellar was through the open panels at the top of the wooden staircase leading to the outside. Snow was falling onto the stairs. You've emerged from the Shadow Realm! Welcome back! Back into the void.
Get back! Back into the void with you!
Oh, God. I really need to buy that thing to put my toggles on. I had a dream last night where no matter how many times I set off the dishwasher, the dishes wouldn't get clean. Oh my God. After the 5th time this thing started speaking German at me. Is this a reference or is this real? Doing good. Played some League last night. Yes, you're not doing good. Chat, I think we should all be concerned about Baron. They're playing League of Legends. That's a cry for help. I don't know who you are, but that's a cry for help. Found out my gain loss. Now playing Car Mechanic Sim 21. What's your gain loss? What do you mean by that? Like your KDA? Do it again, ban me? No, it will remove your mod status. It wasn't actually a dream. Do you speak German, or did it speak actual German words, or like gobbledygook that you were like, oh yeah, that's German? I'm gonna do a quick little recalibrate. Recalibrating. I remember seeing something on the ground behind one of the shelves. I picked it up and instantly recognized its importance. It made me feel like I understood everything better. But before I could see what it was, I was woken up by Faye. We were still in bed. She was sitting up against the pillows, running her fingers across my neck and back. She was looking down at me, smiling, but her hair was dangling in such a way that it obscured her face a little, and the moon lit her up from the window behind her, so she looked different. I recognized my fiance's hair and body, but her face looked old and weathered, like an old man's. At that point, I noticed her hand felt different too. It was rough and heavy, like a guy's. Oh, wait a minute, chat. This isn't actually a demon possession at all. This is just a thinly veiled, like, coming out story. Oh my God, wait a minute. Our protagonist is just here to announce that they're gay. Yeah, okay. How much LP are win or lose? Oh, is it at least decent? I have no idea. I don't speak German besides a few words. Beautiful. Could have been some German I heard in passing and my brain filed it away. That's beautiful. Your little German sleeper cell inside, like, nein. The dishes are not done. At that point, I noticed her hand felt different too. It was rough and heavy, like a guy's. It took me a second to realize that she was probably asleep, so I sat still and just watched her. After a few moments of this, she abruptly got out of bed and walked to the door, mumbling to herself about that sound again. I followed her quietly, wondering what she'd do. We walked through the hall, never searching for the light switch, and stood at the top of the stairs. She started whisper arguing with something down there in the dark, like when a couple is bickering in public but they're trying to hide it. She said, "You need to leave. You need to get the fuck out of here and never come back. I don't know any of them. I don't know anybody. Is that you? Who's with you? Who's making that noise? You're just gonna stand down there and call my name all night? Well, why don't you come up here then? You think I don't know what you're doing? We don't know. Leave us alone." She shouted it so loud it took me off guard and momentarily paralyzed me with fear. I rushed over and grabbed her before she could fall down the stairs. She told me to get off of her, and she didn't need help, then brushed past me towards the bedroom. Along the way, she vomited. I got to spend another hour trying to clean that up while she slept soundly. And guess what? New stain. It wasn't until writing this that I realized Stain has been making its way closer and closer to the bedroom. Ooh. Plus 30 on a win, minus 10 on a loss. Yo, Baron, you're doing great. You're doing actually really well. What do you main? Back when I played League? Oh god, we're getting sucked into League. Oh god. Oh no. Oh no, I'm being pulled back in. When I used to play League, I always did top lane, support, or jungle. And I was always playing like bruiser / tanks. That's my favorite role. This morning before work, I talked to Faye about what happened. She has no recollection of it, including barfing up our expensive dinner, but she did say she heard several voices outside the house early in the morning. She said there was a child calling out, "Where is she? Where is she?" and a man grumbling angrily. She couldn't make out his words. She also said I was talking in my sleep this morning, which is something I almost never do. Uh-oh! Uh-oh! Protagonist getting possessed. Uh-oh! I made a collie. Oh! Mods, take Baron's balls. Mods, take Baron's balls away. They main Cassiopeia and a collie. Mods! Don't you want to play League again? You know what? One good thing about my disability is that I can literally never play League again. It's beautiful. It's like some sort of like Alcoholics Anonymous, but forced, you know? My disability is like, nope, you can't do that. We're taking away your League privileges. But yeah, he's talking in his sleep now. He's seeing these weird, like, squishy walls. He is possessed. He's possessed. The one upside, there's a couple upsides. One of the big upsides is when people give me pity money. When people give me pity money. God, I need a third monitor. I never thought about how moving my model and manipulating it would be so difficult without having another monitor. It's weird. Subtle? Exactly. I can make it worse. I've played enough Akali to break her 1 million mastery point. Dude, Baron! That's impressive. And also, you must be the bane of people's existence. Anyone who plays assassins in any sort of game that's PvP, they are inherently evil people because their biggest goal in life is to make you not play the game. All right. Back into the story. Stop distracting me. Meh. Keep distracting me. They agreed to see the doctor again because of the vomiting, and she also mentioned to me, after reading the Reddit comments, that hypnotism might be a good thing to try. So, we are looking for one in our town. More on that. More on that at 11. More on that if anything develops. Also, her older sister, Becca... Wait. I don't remember her having a sister. I have no memory of this. I guess either there wasn't mention of it before, or this is new info? Because I feel like her family was a pretty big part of the last story, and I don't know why she wouldn't have been mentioned before. I'm a bean. I don't know what you mean. Ah, you're just a little bean. A little bean with bloodshed. Also, her older sister Becca is going to come down in a few days to visit us and see how things are going. Becca lives in Arizona with her husband and infant son. Oh, don't kill the baby. So I've only ever actually met her a handful of times. It'll be nice having some extra people in the house for once. I'm leaning off screen petting the cat because she's mad. In other news, Nathan's not returning my calls, so I might try the Ranger tonight. I also want to let you all know that it's finals week. Both me as a graduate student... Wait, our protagonist is a graduate student? What? I thought he was a teacher. Wait, what? Graduate student, and for the undergrad students I teach. Do undergrads teach at college? I feel like... Is he a teacher's aide? No, I guess not. It says here that he's a graduate student that teaches undergraduates. I didn't know they did that. Do they do that? Am I crazy? Has anyone ever heard that before? I've heard of like teacher's aides. Maybe he's getting a PhD, I guess. Yeah, like he has his master's and was teaching with his master's, and then now he's getting his PhD, I guess. You know, that's not a bad... You know what? I'll go with that for now. It makes me less confused. I also want to let you all know that it's finals week, both for me as a graduate student and for the undergraduate students I teach. I might not be able to update every other day like I usually do. If I'm missing for a day or two extra, don't be alarmed. I'm keeping a close watch on Faye. And I have one last thing to report. Today at lunch, I put my head down in my office and drifted off for a few minutes. This is also unusual for me because I'm a chronic insomniac, and I do not take naps almost ever. But I had another dream. T-Way came to me. If you don't I was going to say if you don't remember, for the next line. For those of you who don't know, T-Way was a Native American man who lived near Pikes Peak. He and his son, Nathan, blessed our cabin and helped Faye and me in our struggle last month. He died in the woods under mysterious circumstances during my last nights at the cabin. Is he not going to mention that the creature skinned T-Way and wore his skin? Are we just not going to mention that part about T-Way? In the dream, I was looking out our bedroom window and T-Way was standing at the tree line across the street. It was really him, not the creature that did a horrifying impersonation of him. He was pointing into the forest. I think I'm supposed to go in there, but I don't know whether I can trust my own dreams anymore. That's where the imposter hides. Edit. I literally just got off work 30 minutes ago and got a call from Faye's boss. I'm on their emergency contact list. They sent her home for behaving erratically. I'm on my way now. I don't see anyone complaining about Becky in here. Or whatever the sister's name was. Like, I thought someone in the comments would be on my side about it. Like, who the hell is the sister? I don't know. But hey, moving on to part 13. Sorry for the long wait, no sleep. I know that I have a possessed wife, but sorry for making you wait. I really do appreciate your concern. I can't even begin to describe how busy I am right now. Faye's older sister Becca and her baby son Caleb are here. Don't name the child. It's gonna make it sadder when the child eventually is possessed and or killed. Faye's older sister Becca and her baby son Caleb are here, staying in the guest room. Yeah, wait. The guest room is the one that had the 5 written on it. The protagonist is really dumb. Let's stick this vulnerable baby and this mother, who is the sister to the possessed person, who's my wife, inside the room where my possessed wife goes to write the secret number. It's finals week for my students, so I'm hosting tons of meetings with them. I've got only one of the 3 major projects done for my doctoral. Oh, you were right. Pigmaster, you were right. He's a PhD student who's teaching undergrad. You know what? Gold star, Pigmaster. Gold star today. I've only got one of 3 major projects done for my doctoral advisor, and I'm grading a huge stack of essays. Oh, and something's trying to steal my fiance's skin or mind control her into killing me or something. So yeah, it's pretty busy around here. How about you? This is this gives very Reddit coded talking. This gives very hello princess. And I'm grading a huge stack of essays. Oh, and something is trying to steal my fiance's skin or mind control her into killing me or something. So yeah, it's pretty busy around here. How about you? He's fine. He doesn't do shit to the demon anyways. Exactly. You know what? He's like, sure, you know what, demon? Possess me and you can grade these essays. How about that, huh? I want to be absolutely transparent. I wish I had a I wish I had a transparent. Chat, I'll be your transparent. I want to be absolutely transparent about something, because a lot of people have been asking me. Yes, this series is now being turned into a book. At the behest of a humongous amount of No Sleep and Story Pick readers, we successfully crowdfunded it this week. I did not mention any of this in any of my posts because Reddit has strict rules against advertisement, and I have grown very fond of the community here on No Sleep. I really never want to get in trouble. Yeah, No Sleep is notorious. No Sleep is notorious for absolutely just erasing people off their site. They have a lot of really strict rules for how things need to be posted and how stories need to be written. Like, a big one is the posts have to be in like a first person perspective, and they have to be acted as if someone is really posting to Reddit. Like, they're posting to No Sleep, like looking for help. Secondly, I feel that my experience at the cabin and the subsequent events are becoming overlong, and my biggest fear is that people here are going to get sick of hearing from me. I'm going to try to post less and say more. Oh, by the way, the book. I've linked the book in the description of the YouTube video. But you can also just, if you search Stolen Tongues, it's the first link that comes up. I really recommend supporting the author. I imagine a lot of the rough edges of the Reddit story have been smoothed away in a book form. Friday morning. My ass hadn't even warmed the seat in my office before I got a call from Faye's boss, notifying me that Faye had been acting erratic. That's literally different than what was said in the last part. He said that he fell asleep at work. What? My ass hadn't even warmed the seat in my office before I got a call from Faye's boss, notifying me that Faye has been acting erratic. Erratic, in fact, to the point that they sent her home from work. She apparently stood in the open doorway of one of the storehouses, staring into the darkness within, not moving for several minutes. A coworker tried twice to get her to snap out of it, but she did not. A few minutes later, the boss came over and found Faye inside, standing in the shadows looking out. It was pitch black inside the storehouse, so when the boss flipped on the lights, she found Faye standing there in the corner, just smiling up at her, eyes unfocused. A few seconds later, she came right out of it and went back to work. About an hour later, my fiancé allegedly claimed that she could feel eyes on her while she was working and had to go inside the break room to sit down. Her coworkers found her fast asleep and just left her there, thinking she was hungover or sick, and went to lunch. When they came back, they was sleepwalking in large circles around the perimeter of the room, singing a lullaby. It scared the other employees so much they got the park manager to actually drive her home. They didn't trust her to drive. Now Faye has to take a drug test because they think she's on drugs. Thankfully, she's, completely clean. I wonder does a demon possession show up on a drug test? Okay, chat, if a demon possession showed up on a drug test, what drug would it imitate? My personal belief, acid. I think if you took a drug test and you were just possessed by a demon, no drugs in your system, just demon, I think it would show up as acid. I'm gonna go crash. Let me know if that idea I had fixes the outfit issue. Thanks. I'll copy. Can't read. Yes, please DM it to me. It goes in one ear, out the other, all the time. It's empty up here. When I got home, I immediately took Faye to urgent care, who miraculously got us in a reasonable amount of time. See, that's how I know this is a fantasy story. We explained everything. Everything. I thought the doctors would think we were insane, but both of them actually looked scared shitless. What? After a CAT scan, a blood panel, and several other small tests, they concluded that Faye seems to be healthy, but needs a full psychiatric evaluation. They gave us a referral and we made an appointment, but it's 2 weeks out. Now that's how I know it's a real story. Or fake story. Sorry, not real story. That's how I know it's a fake story. It's like you go to an urgent care and they're like, here, a referral for 2 weeks later. Nuh-uh. That's going to be months. You think there's a psychiatric evaluation place available in 2 weeks? Those fuckers are full. Yeah, we can get you in 6 months. They gave us a referral and we made an appointment, but it's 2 weeks out. We'll have the blood panel back sooner. When we got home, Faye took a nap and I went out into the woods across the street from our neighborhood, where I saw T-Way in the dream. Those of you who aren't caught up, it's pronounced T-Way. Thank you. And we still don't know how he died. He was skinned alive by the fucking monster. What do you mean? I wandered around between the trees trying to figure out if there was something I needed to find. For about 10 minutes, I searched and found nothing. But then I remembered the phrase that many of the voices of the cabin kept repeating. Up in the trees, or down in the hole. Go up in the trees, or all the way down. 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 So deep you never see the light again. There were so many variants on that phrase. I can't remember them all. But I looked up at the tops of the trees and voila! There was a little crudely constructed object made from twigs and twine dangling from a branch about 30 feet off the ground. It looked kind of like the dream catcher we found at the cabin, but it was obviously made with the twigs from the very tree from which it dangled, so it was a different color and shape. I climbed up the tree and tried to retrieve it, but it was so frail it fell apart the second I pulled it towards me. One thing about it that stood out in particular, it had strands of fiery strawberry blonde hair dangling off of it, just like Faye's. I need your opinion on this. As far as I know, Faye cannot climb trees? What? Motherfucker, what? What do you mean she can't climb trees? What do you mean your wife can't climb trees? You take one foot in one hand and you lift yourself up, and then the other foot in the other hand you lift out. What do you mean she can't climb trees? What an inane thing to say.
Oh, well, yeah, my wife couldn't climb the tree.
What the fuck are you talking about? As far as I know, Faye cannot climb trees. Then again, there's apparently a lot of things I don't know about Faye. My prediction is that is not Faye's hair. My prediction is that it is her sister's hair, and Faye has constructed this dreamcatcher herself to try to get the demon to possess her sister. That's my thought. My fiance went out around 7 p.m. and picked up her sister, Becca, from the airport. She insisted I stay at home and rest. I think she feels bad about how often she deprives me of sleep. I reluctantly obliged. They came home around 9 p.m., and with them was Becca's son, Caleb. I know nothing about babies, but Caleb's pretty cool. He cries less than my students and is smarter than half of them. And Faye absolutely adores him. Uh-oh. Uh-oh, the demon's got baby fever. Becca and I caught up over hot chocolate in the living room while Faye unleashed the full scope of her maternal instincts upon Caleb upstairs. She sang lullabies, laughed, cooed, and basically went mommy crazy. I know that when Becca leaves, I'm going to have to deal with Faye crying and wishing we had kids already. Womp womp. Becca is tough as nails, just like her sister, and it comes from being raised in a strict military family. But having a strict dad also teaches girls how to be expert liars. And I got the sense that Becca was selling me all sorts of bullshit when I told her about what we've been through at the cabin. Becca is 5 years older than Faye. There's the number 5 again. Becca is 5 years older than Faye and has already been married twice. She has a 10-year-old daughter with her first husband. She claimed that she only went to the cabin at Pikes Peak once. Yeah, that's what Faye's family claimed. And that was a lie. She said that drive up there made her carsick, so whenever her parents went there with Faye as a little girl, she'd sleep over at a friend's house instead. She also told me she had no idea what the number 5 means to Faye, and touched me like a minnow when pressed. I want to slap this protagonist. You specifically said in the last one that you were glad you didn't know what the number 5 meant, because it was the only thing that saved you and Faye. Goodness gracious. I really like this story. This story is good. It's well written, but there's a lot of, how to phrase it, inconsistencies and character decisions that don't make a lot of sense. I think the overall story beats are good and the writing quality is good. I think the characters are really How do I phrase this? Bad is not correct. The characters are very inane. I think inane is the word. They make a lot of decisions that don't make any sense. They talk a lot of things that make no sense, and they don't make connections at all. It's like they're just a blank slate for things to happen to, which is a little unfortunate. I feel like it does a disservice to the story that the characters themselves are a little one-dimensional. I get the overwhelming sense that she is deeply troubled by Faye's behavior, and not just because it's creepy. She knows something she's not saying. Faye's entire family seems to be keeping me out of the loop about something big. A very tech-savvy Redditor offered to help me track down Jennifer, and he delivered. When I checked my email that night before bed, he provided me with an email address and phone number of Jennifer's husband. She remarried after Tom hanged himself. Tom was so deeply disturbed by his experiences at the cabin that he couldn't take it, even after moving to Nevada. Or maybe he just couldn't take Jennifer. So, if I remember correctly, Jennifer and Tom were the original owners of the cabin. I emailed the guy, his name is William, and he got back to me the next day and asked me to call him. I explained the situation to him, and he informed me that he and Jennifer had moved to Washington State years ago, but she started abusing prescription medication a year into their marriage. Over the course of a few weeks, she repeatedly told William she'd heard her daughter, who died in childhood, calling to her from the forest outside their home. One night, when William got home from work, the back door was open, and Jennifer was gone. She left without her shoes and jacket. Jennifer went missing for almost 6 months. A group of campers found her remains about 40 miles away. She had been buried in the ground with her legs sticking out. They had been gnawed clean by wolves. So, as a reminder, in the last story, we learned that the Pikes Peak Cabin. The Pikes Peak Cabin was the site, the whole mountain area, was the site of a bunch of battles between different Native American tribes. And when they defeated the other tribe, they buried them face down in the dirt with their legs sticking out, like the body was. So this is even more confirmation that the ghost, or whatever it is, the creature, is related to the Native American kind of like war site. That night, I woke up to the sound of a baby crying. Faye was gone. My first thought was that it was coming from her, because a few weeks ago she had accurately mimicked the sound of a child's cries while walking around the house at night. But this time, it was Caleb. I walked down the hall that led to the guest room and found the door open. Becca wasn't there. The crib was empty. I followed the sounds down the stairs, walking past the barf stain on the wall on a strip it today, and saw Faye and Becca sitting on the couch. Faye was cradling Caleb in her arms, staring at him. Becca was babbling on and on about her husband. She didn't notice that Faye was actually asleep. When Faye looked up at me, only the whites of her eyes showed, and they were rolled back in her head. She was completely out of it. And she smiled. I stood there for a second, just really disturbed at the scene. Didn't say anything. Suddenly, something moved just outside the sliding glass door behind them, the door that leads to our tiny little garden. It was almost pitch black out there. The shape of a man, a huge man, moved away from the glass and vanished into the darkness. Someone had been standing there behind Faye and Becca, watching them play with Caleb. I took off out the front door, hoping to circle around and intercept the man. We live in a housing complex that has a walkway that goes behind all of the houses, and the only thing separating it from each backyard is a tiny little wooden gate that you can literally step over. It's mostly to keep dogs and rodents out, but I ran up and down the path and found nothing at all. There was, however, an oily black substance on the ground at least about 10 yards away from our back patio. It feels to me like the protagonist just doesn't want to take action on anything until something bad happens. You know what I mean? It feels like the protagonist is a very passive character. Faye and him are just having things happen to them and then responding. Last night, Faye started mumbling more lullabies in her sleep. I'm guessing it's probably because she's thinking about Becca and Caleb's visit. She loves kids so much. She also said, "He's in the stains. He gets up and walks around in the dark." I took the advice of a few Redditors and asked her, "Faye, what did you forget?" She paused for a long time, then replied, "He needs me." Right when she said it, a child laughed somewhere outside. Tomorrow, the Shoshone woman who visited us last month is going to come back with her friend who specializes in hypnosis. I'll report the results when I can. Again, please forgive me if it takes a bit longer. This week is a nightmare. Update. I finally got a call from Nathan. More soon. Now wait a minute. Nathan's not dead! Yay! Nathan's like my only character I like in this story. Nathan and T-Way, but well, T-Way's dead. T-Way's a little dead. On to part 14. Last time I updated, Faye's older sister Becca came to visit us with her infant son Caleb. Actually, let's take a quick water break. Gotta wet my whistle. Delicious water. Little voice acting tip, by the way. If you are voice acting, make sure you drink warm liquid. Not hot, not cold, warm. Like room temperature or slightly warmer. It helps make sure, because when you drink cold liquid, it shrinks up your vocal cords, or hot liquid, it expands them. If you drink just neutral liquid, it not only lubricates your throat, which you need, but it also doesn't how to phrase it. It doesn't mess with how you're voice acting. TLDR! TLDR! Hi, Leah. Hi, Leah, how you doing? I don't know why I keep saying hi to people like this. It's funny. Hi, Leah, how you doing today? I'm crashing out on this story a bit. The last time I updated, Faye's older sister Becca came to visit us with her infant son Caleb. The presence of the child seems to have awakened something in Faye, because her sleep disturbances have become more erratic, and her unusual behavior has intensified. They stayed for almost a week, but left abruptly after a few weird experiences with Faye. Becca seems to be growing angry with Faye over the course of a few days, although I can never really discern why. One night, when Faye was asleep, Becca and I sat on the couch and talked more about what had been happening. I asked her why she seemed so hostile toward her sister that day. We wouldn't even speak to her. And Becca replied that Faye really has a problem letting things go. If she's mad at someone, she's mad for weeks. If she's hurt for years. She can't forgive and she can't forget. Did you do something that made her mad? Are you two fighting? Becca denied that they were having any sort of conflict and said that she was just speaking in general terms, having grown up with Faye. I asked her if there was something in the past that made Faye angry, and Becca sharply responded, "Nobody did anything to Faye. Nothing happened to her." Yeah, let's just not talk about the demon possession. That's okay. Why is there a JPEG on stream? What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean? I'm not a JPEG. Does Felon just say too long didn't read? Well, don't worry. I'm reading it for you. Easy. You don't need to read shit. You can rest those tired little eyes. Close them lids, rest those eyes, and maybe rest that head on this bosom. Ooh. Cat, maybe? What? Cat? Poker face. At that point, she stood up and went upstairs, claiming she needed to check on Caleb, and closed the door without saying goodnight. Faye is sometimes difficult to handle because she's proud and stubborn, and the strongest person I've ever met. But her sister felt like an obsidian wall. You can't get any information out of her. You can't read her poker face. You can't know what she's really thinking, ever. But I know that she knows something, and maybe I can't get it out of her, but I figured I'd be able to get it out of her mom. Becca and Faye's mom, Laura, agreed to Skype chat with me this week. This time, I'm going for the throat. If this is the third time you've tried to talk to her, I don't know if it's gonna work. Oh, the cat in the corner. Yeah, I made him very tiny. The TTS cat. I successfully removed all the vomit stains from the house, so Faye isn't talking to them in the dark anymore, but she is still getting worse. I feel like she's slipping away. Seeing Faye holding Caleb on the couch with her eyes rolled back in her head and smiling was one of the most disturbing memories I have of this entire ordeal. There's something about Faye and that child that deeply unsettles me, but I've been keeping quiet and trying to make sure that Caleb is safe. I have no reason to believe Faye would ever hurt another person, except for the one time in college where she punched out a drunk girl at a party for grabbing my ass and saying, "I'd hit it." slaps your fiance's ass. "I'd hit it." Boo, I can make it bigger again. There you go. I made it bigger again. But as far as animals and kids go, Faye is angelic. The night that Becca stormed off to bed mid-conversation, Faye did something odd. I woke up to her mumbling in the dark, and when I turned on the light, she was standing at the far end of the room, cradling a pillow in her arms and swaying back and forth, half singing a lullaby. The words were unrecognizable, but the melody sounded distantly familiar. I called out to her and asked, "Sweetie, what are you doing?" By the way, definitely the lullaby that was sung in the trees. We need to pat the cat redeem. You need to pat the Maddie redeem. I really need to work on anything for stream. I need to work on redeems where y'all can interact with the model. She replied in a low, grumbling voice,
"I always wanted to be a big sister."
Her speech was slurred. She sounded drugged. I got up and gently ushered her back to bed and took the pillow away. When I did, she said,
"Now I want to be a mommy."
I rubbed her neck and assured her that I do want to start a family with her someday, and that she would be a great mom. She then mumbled,
"He's a little corpse."
"What do you mean?" But she never replied. She just started that rhythmic breathing that lets you know your partner is fast asleep. Aw, you're lagging out? I'm fucking lagging out here! Give me some fucking anti-lag stat! Angela visited our house again the next evening, just after the sun went down. For those of you who don't recall, Angela belongs to the Shoshone tribe in California and is the daughter of a very important tribal elder. She first visited me and Faye when we got back to California, rest in peace. She first visited me and Faye when we got back to California and told us that a malevolent spirit called the Hollow One was infatuated with my fiancé. She said that there was a dark cloud over Faye that could not be easily removed. This time, Angela brought her friend, who was a hypnotist, and they inspected the house and yard. We told them about the bar stains, and Faye's claimed that he's in the stains. He gets up at night and walks around in the dark. Then, in private, I told them about baby Caleb's presence and how it has exacerbated Faye's behavior. I also showed them where I found the new dream catcher. Ooh. It's okay. You go on without me for those who come after. And she's dead. My best friend killed by lag. It's a tragedy. Angela said that this entity has many names and is known to several different Native American groups. It is older than the Skinwalkers, and the progenitor of many evil spirits that inhabit different places near the Rocky Mountains in Southwest. Her friend referred to it as a soul trader that snatches up a person's essence and takes it down into the dark, then enters the remaining body to seek out more victims. I don't know where the dark is, but allegedly, that is where Faye is headed. With too much exposure to this thing, both Faye and I have become tainted by it. This is why we were vomiting dark bile, and the stain still carried remnants of that evil. Angela spoke with Faye for a long time, and concluded that she was still Faye, but on her way to somewhere else. She's making... I'm gonna read that in that character's voice. Included that she was still Faye, but she's on her way to somewhere else. She's making a spiritual journey into a place that she thinks is good and safe, but in reality, she's being coaxed out of this world. Despite what has happened to us, a lot of this whimsical metaphysical talk is sometimes hard for me to swallow. Motherfucker! I thought we were past this. I thought we finally got past this whole, well, I'm a lay epic Redditor. I'm a lay epic atheist who does not believe in the supernatural. I'm lay epic? Motherfucker, you are spitting up demon vomit. Please. Please. Despite what has happened to us, a lot of this whimsical metaphysical talk is sometimes hard for me to swallow. But the hypnotist session with Faye did a good job convincing me that there is something here, inside my house with us, always watching. Always watching. You can tell this story is starting to, get on my nerves, because I'm stimming way more than I should. If I'm, into a story, I will not be stimming anywhere near as much, but I'm... Any provocation. I see the phrase, always watching, and it's supposed to be creepy, oh, there's something in the dark watching me. But me, I'm just hitting it with the Mike Wazowski. I'm always watching. The hypnotist had Faye lie in our bed, and we brought chairs from the dining room upstairs to sit with her. She put her hand on Faye's forehead and hummed a chant for a while, then covered Faye's eyes with her palm and asked her a few questions. There were things like, what is your name? Who is your fiancé? All of Faye's answers were normal. Then the hypnotist hummed some more and lifted her hand. Faye's eyes rolled back in her head, which only happens when she is in a sleepwalking state. Her mouth was twitching a little bit. The hypnotist asked, who are you? Faye. The important parts of the conversation went like this. Faye, can you tell us who is in this house? Faye raised her arms slowly and pointed each person in the room out and said their name, even though she was not looking at them. She knew where everyone was. Felix, Becca, Angela, you. And then she pointed at the wall and said, Caleb. He was in the other room. Is there anyone else? What about the man who has been following you? She shook her head. Right now, he's outside. We all glanced out the window to the tree line where I had first seen the figure walking back and forth in the middle of the night, mimicking Faye's sleepwalking. This time, there was no one there. What does he say to you? Is he talking to you right now? I can't hear him. He's facing the other way. And what are the dream catchers for? Who makes them? Faye did not respond. She smiled a little bit. I butted in and say, honey, I found your hair wrapped into a dream catcher outside. Did you do that? She put her finger to her lips and shushed me. Then she put her palm flat against the wall like she was feeling for a pulse. After a few moments, she said, he's here. Right when she finished her sentence, Caleb burst into tears. Becca and Angela rushed out of the room to go check on him. The hypnotist and I remained with Faye. The hypnotist finally went for broke and said, Faye, sweetie, you wrote the number 5 on the window in the other room. You wrote it backwards. Why did you do that? What does it mean? Did you write it for someone else outside to see? In that moment, Faye's eyes rolled forward and her little green irises finally showed. She immediately looked towards the door that led into the hall and said, No, he's listening now. Then she began hyperventilating and struggled to speak words. He'll find out. The last thing she said was, Felix. Oh, sorry. The last thing she said was, Felix, in a deep, guttural voice. It wasn't her own. Then the hypnotist pressed her hand against Faye's eyes and spoke a loud command in her native tongue. I think it was Shoshone, but I'm not actually sure which group she's affiliated with. Faye immediately woke up and seemed very confused about where she was, then started crying and reached out for me. I hurried over and held her in my arms. Her body was so cold it was like she was a corpse. When she was crying, she said, "He wants to kill you. He wants you dead. I saw you in the trees." Ooh, okay. That was, you know what? That was a really good part. Like I said, this story kind of slaps when it actually, I don't know, is written. I'm not gonna be mean. I'm not gonna be mean. This story slaps when it's in its element. When it's moment-to-moment horror. When it's about people addressing the horror is where it seems to fumble. I feel like this story has a lot of really good ideas, but the characters aren't fleshed out enough to make those ideas fully... How do I want to phrase it? The characters aren't fleshed out enough for the story to have enough meat on its bones. You have a lot of really good bones with the story and how it's set up, but you don't have the meat you need on those bones. Or at least, not as much meat as you need. Angela and the hypnotist, I haven't given her name, by the way, because I don't want you to have to memorize a million names, hurried around the house, blessing it and burning sage, then also recommended I call a Catholic priest for Faye's personal comfort, since she's a Catholic. They left after a few words of parting, and Becca seemed really angry and scared at this point. She remained in her room for the rest of the night. I got a call about an hour later from Angela, who told me that she had discussed the situation with the hypnotist, and they believe Faye is in extreme denial about something, perhaps some sort of trauma, and they said that she had repressed it so well that it was consigned to a place in her subconscious that only years of therapy or hypnosis could unearth. It was in a place in her mind that could not even be accessed by talking to her in her sleep. That is where the number 5 rests, and that is why the entity hasn't yet found it, despite communicating with Faye in her sleep virtually every night. He's drilling her brain like miners digging for gold. Which begs the question, since you already knew this, why were you trying to get her to tell you what the number 5 meant? You idiot. We all went to sleep pretty early that night because all of the drama, but as I've learned on so many other occasions, going to sleep upset usually results in a night terror or some other sleep disturbance for Faye. At around 2 a.m., she leapt out of bed, jolting me awake in the process, and bombed down the hall like there was a fire. She started bashing her fists against the door to the guest room, but didn't utter a single word. Her eyes were shut. I flicked on the light and stood there in the hall just for a second, scared stiff. But when baby Caleb started crying, I snapped out of it and rushed over. I bear hugged my fiancée to try to get her to stop making so much noise. And in return, she tried to bite me. Faye has never been violent towards me in her life, even in her sleep. She's always a very passive sleepwalker. Creepy, but passive. This time she was trying to rip my throat out. She was trying to draw blood. I fended her off and sort of apprehended her, then walked her back to the bedroom. She was basically wearing me like a straitjacket. When I carefully put her back in bed, she whispered, "You'll go up in the trees. He went down in the hole." Ooh, okay. So I'm guessing the he is referring to the spirit that's haunting them? The spirit is one of the Native American, or like a conglomerate of the Native Americans that were part of the tribe that was buried upside down. I'm guessing? Maybe? Becca was understandably furious the next day. but she swallowed her anger and drove Faye down to the Catholic church in the town center. I went to work. Apparently, they finally got one of the priests to agree to visit next week to bless the house. They explained that this wouldn't be enough, so he said he'd speak with the bishop of his diocese? I'm not Catholic. I was raised by my... Phrasing's hard. I was partially raised by my grandfather, who was a pastor. He was an Anglican priest, and he helped raise me. You know, I grew up in his house for a few years with my mom and my grandma, and he was a big part of my life growing up. So I have a lot of tertiary knowledge of Christianity, but not of like Catholicism. Flesh, delicious. I mean, fair, flesh is delicious. I do love me some good meat. I'm just glad I was given a choice for religion, so I wasn't baptized. What do you mean you were given a choice for religion? Does that mean, like, your family never took you to, like, church or something? Which isn't a bad thing, by the way. I guess I'm just confused. Like, how did baby you choose religion? Or did you choose... Or was it like you choose not to participate? Oh, your parents wanted you to choose later in life. Oh, that makes sense. Okay. I like that. See, I wish my family did that for, like, you know, permanent things in my life. Like circumcision. Give me my foreskin back. I texted that to my mom one day. As a joke, I just texted her. I just said, give me back my foreskin. And you know what she said? She apologized. I felt so bad. She's like, I didn't want to. Your dad did. It was your dad's decision. And I'm like, I didn't mean to open up a can of worms. I just want my penis back. Or part of it anyway. Ripped all those poor lost foreskins? Well, they're not lost. The government keeps them. Like, the government has them all in a little warehouse, don't you know? They use them to keep rich people healthy, right? I think that's what it is. They, like, take our foreskins and make sure rich people don't die with them. It's like some sort of stem cell thing. Not me spreading crazy conspiracy theories or anything. Don't harm me. What the fuck were we doing? That evening, Becca informed me that she had changed her flight and she now intended to leave in 2 days. I begged her to set aside her differences with Faye and try to get through to her. I said Faye needs her big sister right now. Becca wouldn't budge. She seems to be holding a monolithic grudge about something neither of them will tell me. Interesting. Remember how Becca was like, oh, Faye holds a grudge. Faye holds a grudge. Apparently Becca does. I ordered pizza, Faye's favorite, in a lame attempt at lightening the mood around the house, but the two would only have casual, light conversation with each other, and the tension in the house was so thick I could feel it in my stomach. Faye and I retired to our room early and watched Game of Thrones! Oh no! Not again! The true horror! We always recorded on Sunday because Faye's at work. Did you Timo it? Or whatever the fuck it was called? TiVo? Was it TiVo? Excuse me. I asked her if she remembered telling me that the imposter wanted me dead or I was going to be put up in the trees. She said she did not recall saying any of that, but that she did have a dream about seeing me impaled on a tree branch high up in the air. She said my skin and hair were missing. Oh, fun! Faye fell asleep pretty quickly, but I couldn't sleep at all. I remember that Nathan, T-Way's son, had left me a voicemail a few days prior, and I'd forgotten to call him back? God, I hate this protagonist!
Oh, Nathan's not answering my calls. Oh, guess what? Nathan called me back. Left me a voicemail. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna wait a couple days.
Fucking idiot. I want to slap this goddamn protagonist in his balls. I want to hit him with a freaking nut flick. God damn, I hate this protagonist. I'm gonna throw hands with him.
Oh, I got a message from fucking Nathan. You know, the one who basically cured me a little bit of my demon possession? Made me spit out on the black vomit. I'm gonna just ignore his voicemail for a couple days.
Faye fell asleep pretty quickly, but I couldn't sleep at all. I remembered that Nathan, the T-Way's son, had left me a voicemail a few days prior, and I had forgotten to call him back. So I grabbed my phone and went downstairs. The house was quiet. Becca and Caleb were already asleep downstairs. I turned the TV on low to mask my conversation with Nathan. It was midnight in Colorado, but he answered the phone and asked me how everything was going. I told him everything. Nathan had a lot to say. He apologized for making me and Faye sick, but said that a simple purging process was a very common treatment for many physical and spiritual maladies in his tribe. However, by my description of the Barstein events, it obviously did not work, and we were still under the influence of the imposter. He said if we came back to Colorado, he would bring us to the elders of his community and requested they perform a more serious healing ritual. I told him that would be Faye's call entirely, but I doubt she would go, or that the imposter would let her. Last month, when I was in the cabin by myself, there was a blizzard that shut down the only road to the mountain. The ranger couldn't come up to check on me, but T-Way and Nathan, being the badass gentlemen they are, actually hiked up the mountain through the snow and checked on me. You can read the story at the bottom of this post if you haven't. But basically, on their hike back down, they heard Faye's voice calling out to them from inside one of the abandoned mines on Pikes Peak. T-Way went to investigate and was dragged into the dark by an unseen creature or animal. Nathan eventually found him dead. The parts of his skin had been flayed. Hi, Kai. Hi, how we doing, Kai? The reason that I hadn't been able to get a hold of Nathan for several days was because he and a group of men from his community went back to Pikes Peak to investigate the circumstances of his father's death and to explore the cabin. They camped for a few nights and even spent one night in the woods next to the cabin. Nathan heard T-Way's voice, calling out for help over and over, crying and speaking Nathan's name. However, occasionally the voice would cry out in Zuni, which is a language that some Pueblo tribes speak, but their tribe does not. They speak Hopoi, but Nathan was fairly certain that this was not, in fact, his father, leading more credence to my thought that it's one of the Native Americans from the tribe that was buried. They also heard the children weeping in the forest. One of Nathan's friends left the tents to take a piss, and he claims he saw a naked child with grayish skin standing a dozen yards off, facing away and looking up at the trees. He looked like a stiff corpse and was standing high up on the balls of his feet. Uh-oh, he's autistic. Gets everyone. You see the tiptoes? You know. By the way, that's me. I'm the tiptoes autist. I am the gray-skinned child in the woods on my tiptoes. It was me. It was me. This sight apparently scared Nathan's friend so bad he took off, grabbed his things, and went to hike back down the mountain in the dark, in the cold, by himself. Your friend's an idiot. Nathan and the others tried to stop him, but it was too dangerous to go after. They haven't seen him since. You creature! Nah, that's you and my wife. Frickin' MBs. My goddamn non-binaries out here being like the creatures. Nathan told me he had recurring dreams of a child while on the mountain. Of a child and of Faye. He said to me... What was his voice? I forgot what I gave Nathan for his voice. Tell me about the child, Felix. Tell me about the... I don't know. I've never tried to do a Native American accent before. YouTube. Native American accent tutorial?
On this video, I'm going to show you the exercise
This
and
is
reduction
15
mechanics of
minutes
these
long.
Can you do a Native American accent, please? Sure, of course. Great. Whenever you're ready. Guys, come on, let's go. Do you mind? Can you put more of an accent on? Let's go. Say it. Olenichi Skoden. What? American accent? Oh, you want me to do the stereotypical accent that a lot of people think we talk like because Hollywood normalized it? Yes. Yeah, I'm gonna have to pass.
Easy. Easy pass. Easy pass. Easy pass. What a beautiful short to encapsulate why I should not try to imitate a Native American accent. So, by the way, Nathan sounds like this.
Tell me about the child, Felix.
He sounds like, actually, he sounds like an old prospector. Hey, wait, there's gold in them hills. Tell me about the child, Felix. During our conversation, I had been standing in the living room facing the sliding glass door, looking out into the backyard. Right when Nathan said, "Tell me about the child," I saw a large shadow move behind the orange tree outside. I told Nathan to hold on a second and went to grab the flashlight from the kitchen. When I got there, I almost collapsed in fright. The front door was wide open. From my front door, you can see the tree line across the street. Is this like a picture or something? Nope, another unavailable YouTube video. Someone was walking behind the trees. I could see them moving slowly. Between them. I set down the phone and ran upstairs to wake Faye and Becca, but Faye wasn't in bed. I frantically rushed to Becca's room to see if Faye was with her, but Becca was fast asleep and was really disturbed at my urgency when I woke her up. We turned on the light and she went out to grab Caleb, but he wasn't in the little crib Faye had brought him. He was gone. Becca turned into the Hulk for about 0.5 seconds flat. She started shrieking in rage and terror. "Where is he? Where's my baby?" Over and over. We dashed around the house looking for Faye and Caleb, but couldn't find them. And then I realized that she had taken him outside. We ran out there barefoot, straight into the trees, and came up behind Faye. My fiancée was standing there in her underwear, looking up into the trees. Her arms were outstretched, holding Caleb up in the air, as if offering him to someone above. High up on one of the branches was the dream catcher, the one I had taken down and broken only days earlier. Now it was intact. Becca grabbed Caleb out of... Kona loves cows. From 14? Like, Kona and the Ronik? Is that what you're talking about? Or am I missing something? Becca grabbed Caleb out of Faye's hands and shoved her to the ground, then took the baby back inside. I picked Faye up and rushed her back to the house. Neighbors were starting to come out of their homes to see what all the commotion was. Faye woke up on her way back up the stairs and broke down crying, apologizing to both of us. Becca packed all of her things and stormed out of the house, grabbing Faye's car keys and drove off. The police showed up within a few minutes and I had to explain to them that the sisters had a big fight that got taken outside. I said that Faye was drunk, so it took her a bit. I said Faye was drunk, so she took it a bit far and ran off across the street. Thankfully, nobody saw the baby, so I didn't get arrested for child endangerment. What else could I have said? They never believed me if I told them the truth. They checked Faye out to make sure she hadn't gotten beaten up and asked her repeatedly if I was treating her all right. Then they left. Becca drove straight to the airport. Faye and I had to go pick up the car the next day. I've got a Skype chat scheduled with Faye's mom tomorrow. Becca texted me and said, "Ask her about 5. She knows." Why are you trying to learn what... I hate this. I hate this. You should not... Why are you trying to figure out what 5 means? If I get the answer out of her, I'll post a brief update here, but I won't make another post for a while. I'm sorry. Thank you for all of your support over the past month. Now, I need to try to put all the broken pieces of my home life back together. Easy. All right, chat. We are on the penultimate chapter of Stolen Tongues, part 15. And I'm gonna go pee real quick. I'll be right back. Neo, you're in charge. And wait, let's see. Can I make her look dead? Oh yeah, she looks dead. 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5 5. All right, I'm back. I'm back. You know I'm back. You know I'm back. You know I'm back. Recalibrated. Part 15, the penultimate chapter. I am so sorry for the length of this post. It's enormous. I actually have to split it into two because of Reddit's word count limit, but this is it. For better or for worse, the end has finally come. After I post the other half of this update in a few days, I will never speak of these events again. I have lost far too much, and it hurts me too deeply to continue. Now, interesting. Did he lose Faye? Interesting. Interesting. It has been a long time since I talked about my fiancée and the events surrounding our vacation at her parents' cabin in Colorado. But I think enough time has passed. I have finally unearthed the secrets Faye's family has been hiding from me. No Sleep has been remarkably supportive, so even though what I'm about to tell you is deeply personal, you've helped us get this far. You deserve to know what I found. We moved 2 weeks ago. I got a new job, so we found a new place a few towns over. It's only an hour's drive from our old place, and it's the same distance from Faye's work, but in the opposite direction. As if by the law of horror film cliches, the strange activity that plagued us at night ceased entirely for a week when we moved into our new place. However, it started up again after a while, just as I feared it might. Our new home had not yet been blessed by Angela when the activity started up again. The Atan Anotoguk. Atan. Damn it, I had this before. The Atan Aano Togukua. Atan no Togu. Fuck me. Atan Ano Toguka. Togukua. I deserve to be like kicked off the internet for that. The imposter has not given up on Faye. Its game is to wear us down until we just give up. I had a Skype chat set up with Faye's very reticent mother, but per No Sleep's warnings, I waited until after we moved. The fear was that Laura might divulge something over Skype that the imposter could use against us. The more it discovers about us, the more closely it can mimic me and any of Faye's family members, living or dead. Firing squad ready! No! You know, I flopped to the side and actually had a nice back crack there. Oof, ow. When she is asleep, Faye is highly susceptible to suggestion. The running hypothesis No Sleep has developed is that there are certain things the imposter needs to know about Faye in order to fully infiltrate her. To control her. Kill her. We don't really know what it plans to do with her, but we do know that it is especially curious about the significance of the number 5, which Faye drew on a window while sleepwalking. She gets agitated any time 5 is brought up, but cannot coherently explain why. I think that once it learns the meaning of the number, it will have full access to Faye, and will be able to do whatever it's planning with her, which is why I have been interrogating every person I run into to figure out what the number 5 means. Wait a minute, that's a bad idea. I sat on the couch with my laptop and Skyped Laura around 10 p.m. one night in our new place, about half an hour after Faye had fallen asleep. I had to be extremely aggressive in order to break Laura's wall of lies about her family's past, and just when she seemed ready to crack, Faye walked out of the bedroom. We now live in a one-story house. It was dark in the hall, so she scared the shit out of me when I saw movement out of the corner of my eye. She stood there in the shadows, rigid and still. Her entire body was stiff, and her head was craned all the way back in a painful position. Her chin pointed at the ceiling. Her arms were straight up in the air in a hallelujah gesture. She hadn't slept walked in a while now, so I immediately told Laura I'd call her back and jumped up. Faye shushed me and wiggled her fingers, arms still outstretched. She looked like a praying mantis in repose. Faye, what is it? She smiled and replied, Did you know about her? She closed her hands and one of her fingers pointed at the ceiling. I said I didn't know what she was talking about. What? No what? I looked at the ceiling and saw nothing. Faye paused. She typically pauses for long periods between sentences while sleepwalking, and then said, There's an old woman up there. She lives in the attic. She's so friendly. She remembered my birthday. My skin crawled. It felt like insects skittering under my clothes when she said that. Faye says a lot of disturbing things that I've grown used to it, but occasionally she still surprises me. I asked her more about this old woman, and she said, She sleeps right above our bed. Nope. 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 That's not your wife anymore. That's not your wife anymore. Faye brought her arms down to her sides and her muscles relaxed. She stopped answering my questions. I walked her back to the bedroom and gently tucked her in. That night, I lay awake in the dark, staring up at the ceiling. I imagined the corpse of an old woman stuck up inside the drywall or dangling from the rafters in the attic. I couldn't shake the feeling that our unwanted guest had moved in with us and was now pretending to be a friendly stranger to trick Faye. That night, I dreamed of a dark stain spreading itself out across the ceiling in the shape of a large man, just like the vomit stains in our old house a few weeks prior. As I was falling asleep, I thought I heard something heavy dragging itself around up there. Okay. 5. Okay, can I point out something? I need to point two things out. One thing is about fucking chat. Chat, one of your favorite things to do is to just text-to-speech a random word and then get me to stim it. It is bullshit. Just because you message one word just because you message one word in text-to-speech and you think I'm going to repeat it back? You think? The answer is yes. I'm easily manipulated. Second thing about this fucking story. Why? Why on earth would he wait for his fucking wife to be asleep before he calls her mother to figure out the secrets? Wouldn't you want, I don't know, to not be anywhere near where this evil creature could be? Huh? Maybe? If you're gonna do it in your home, at least do it during the middle of the fucking day, not when your wife is being possessed in her sleep, like grandma upstairs. Laura called the following evening. Faye wasn't home from work yet, so we had a good hour-long conversation before things got uncomfortable. I had to spend a lot of time getting her back into the emotional space where she could open up about her daughter. And when she finally did, I was astonished. It felt like the first time Laura had ever told me the truth about anything. I don't have any proof that she was being honest, but I could hear it in her voice. Nah, evil creatures are great. Well, you are. But, that's just because you're an evil creature that, likes me. If you're an evil creature that didn't like me, that'd be bad. But I don't mind having an army of ghouls, goblins, and creatures as long as they're nice to me. You know what I'm saying? Oh, give me a sec. There we go. Sorry, something was an issue and I had to fix it. Recalibrating expression. It is true that Faye was 5 years old when she developed her unusual sleep disorder, but the number 5 does not symbolize that. It goes a lot deeper. As I mentioned before in a previous update, Faye's parents lied to me and told me that she had been visiting the cabin at Pikes Peak regularly throughout her life until she was 13. And yet Faye claimed she had never been there before, ever. In reality, Faye went there a few times as a child, but her last visit was at age 5. If I look weird and I'm craning my neck, that's because the cat is in the chair behind me and she's wrestling with me right now. She and her father, Greg, were outside building a snowman, but then Faye walked into the tree line and began speaking with someone that Greg could not see. She spoke her own name and said a few other things Greg couldn't hear, but then had some sort of seizure and became catatonic. When she came to, he cried for hours. But there was apparently more to the story. Just as Faye got home from work and walked in the door, I heard Laura say, "A few months before that, I was pregnant." Pregnant? Second, I covered the mouthpiece and said, "Hi, sweetie." Oh, sorry. Yeah, just as Faye got home from work and walked in the door, I heard Laura say, "A few months before that, I was pregnant." So there was that message that I believe Faye said that I always wanted to be an older sister, but now I want to be a mother. So my thought process is it has something to do with this baby that was in her mommy's tummy.
Pregnant? Who es pregante?
I kept this revelation to myself for a while. Laura didn't return my calls after Faye went to bed, so I never found out what happened to her pregnancy. Did she have a miscarriage? An abortion? Did she give up the baby for adoption? Was it not Greg's child? Millions of questions swarmed in my mind. I didn't sleep at all, and I could barely hide my thoughts from Faye. She knew something was wrong. She's quite perceptive and can read me like a book. But I acted like I had a stomach ache and went to bed. Motherfucker, you could just say, "Hey, all this crazy shit's bothering me. All the crazy things that have been happening this whole time, they're bothering me." You don't need to come up with like, "Oh, my tummy hurts. Oh no, my tummy." That night, I had an absolutely terrible dream. Probably the worst one I've ever had. In it, an adult Faye attacked her pregnant mother. She was sleepwalking, but screaming wildly and pummeling her mother, just like she had pummeled the guest bedroom door when her sister and infant nephew visited us last month. There was blood everywhere. And Faye just ran off into the woods with the fetus. It was so violent, I jolted awake, nearly screaming. When I woke up, Faye was sitting upright in bed, staring out the window. She was awake. I could tell because her posture was normal, and her eyes weren't rolled back in her head or blissfully sealed shut. Did you hear it too? It took me a while to figure out where I was. When I saw her sitting there in a pristine white t-shirt, I sighed in relief. There was no blood anywhere. It's just a dream. But before I could answer her question, I heard a baby crying. We live in a bigger suburban neighborhood now, so it was entirely possible that it was just a sound from one of the nearby houses. But Faye's reaction to it really disturbed me. The look on her face made me think the sound was causing her physical pain. She cringed and shut her eyes, trying not to cry. I cupped her face in my hands and told her it was okay, but as I did, another voice rang out from the dark. It was a little girl, and she was speaking as if to a baby. From what I could hear, she said, "When do we go inside? When do we go inside?" Oh yeah! That was one of the children's voices they heard back at the cabin. It was spoken in like monotone, like, "When do we go inside?" Like that. "Up in the trees." "Where?" "No, not in the hole, not down there." Faye started crying too. I looked out the window but couldn't see anything. She had no explanation for why she was so upset other than, "It's Pat. He's here. I know it's him." I didn't want to scare her, but I completely agreed. Or you just agree with her and go, "Yeah, you're right. Let's fight this together, honey, and stop keeping you in the dark." A conversation with Nathan. I had a missed call from Nathan the next morning when I woke up. It was Saturday, and Faye and I had plans to get new furniture at IKEA. Get the meatballs! I've heard that you can get meatballs at IKEA, and that they're fantastic. I would love to eventually try IKEA meatballs, but I'm never going to go into an IKEA, so It's just a pipe dream. I have also heard that Blahas are trans icons. I do not own a Blaha, so I guess in that case I'm not trans. Sad. I actually, so my sister-in-law came out as trans, and my wife and I, for her birthday, got her a Blaha, and she was very excited and thought it was very funny. You have a Blaha? Well, yeah, you educated me. Well, I guess re-educated, since I knew but then forgot. You re-educated me that non-binary is trans. It's so huggable. I have Squishmallows for that. Those are my trans stuffies, is I have Squishmallows. Specifically, I have a Squishmallow that I sleep with every night. I had a missed call from Nathan the next morning when I woke up. It was Saturday, and Faye and I had plans to get new furniture at IKEA. While she was in the shower, I returned Nathan's call. He answered on the first ring. He sounded terrible. The first thing he said was, Felix. Oh, sorry, he's a prospector, that's right. Felix, do you know anything about the child? A few weeks prior, he had said, tell me about the child. And I had no idea what he was talking about. Now, I had a pretty clear idea. I whispered to him that Faye's mother had been pregnant when Faye was 5, but I had no idea what became of the baby. He told me to get as much information from Laura as possible, at all costs, but to keep it from Faye. He also told me that he was going to mail us a special herbal mixture, mugwort, Damiana, and Kayla Zaka something. Frere Jaka. It's up to the MBs to decide whether they want to label themselves as trans. I personally do not. That's so fair. That is so fair. I'm still learning. See, I may be trans, but I am not a encyclopedia on trans terminology or LGBT. I don't know. I don't usually like to assign labels to myself, so trans is one of the first labels I've assigned to myself, so I'm still learning a lot. He said it promotes good dreams and therefore would shield us from some of the imposter's intrusions. I asked Nathan to explain what he meant. He said very simply, the Anton Ano Toguka does not read minds, it reads dreams. This was an astonishing revelation to me. It explained so much about the cabin. The imposter mimicked Faye's grandfather because she probably had a dream about him at the cabin, and it mimicked my mother for the same reason. Oh, I need to move. My blanket got all fucked up. Okay, I'm good. It mimicked my mother for the same reason. It mimicked the people that Greg saw die in the war because he frequently had nightmares about them. The former owner of the cabin, Jennifer, heard her daughter's voice in the forest at night because she dreamed about her. Who wouldn't have painful dreams about their own child who passed away? The creature mimics the people it learns about through the dreams of its victims. I would never, ever fall victim to this thing. You want to know why? I don't have dreams like that. My dreams are already night terrors. The creature would not want to haunt me. It would go in my dreams and go, what the fuck is wrong with this girl? And leave. I am on the max dose of night terror medication, and it does not prevent them. I even asked my doctor, like, hey, could I increase my dose? Or, like, is there a different medication to try? And she's like, no, no, sweetie, you're on the maximum dose. The creature mimics the people it learns about through the dreams of its victims and repeats them in the forest to coax those victims outside. It also listens to the things people say while they're awake. This is why we heard so many unrecognizable and familiar voices at the same time. Some of these voices belong to other victims. Does it do anything at all? Yes. It's also there to help treat post-traumatic stress disorder, and it also acts as a antidepressant. It's kind of like a multifaceted drug. Some of these voices belong to other victims. That thing wanders around in the dark, learning from its target, sharpening its skill, and pretending. That's how it hunts. So, since I was getting nearer to the significance of the number 5, the information that the imposter so desperately sought, it was in greater danger. My own dreams could betray our safety. No shit! It took you to part 15 to realize that, asshole. A multivitamin for the bad brain. I do not take vitamins, besides D. And yes, I mean dick, but also the vitamin. Nathan continued, and I'm just paraphrasing because I can't remember everything verbatim. Faye is the most fascinating person the Atan Anotogua has ever encountered. Her dreams are mysterious to it. She's a puzzle to be solved, and most of all, when it speaks to her through her dreams, she speaks back. I guess you could say it's a very dark fixation with her. Perhaps even love. A putrid form of it anyway.
He takes the D confirmed! Ayo!
Yeah, totally. As the only romantic and sexual partner I've ever had is my wife. Definitely take the D. It was true. Faye mirrored. Did y'all hear that? Was that in the song I'm listening to, or was that in the real world? Because I didn't like that. Ew. It was true. Faye mirrored the imposter's darkness. When it looked into her, it didn't find all of the hopes and dreams and fears it saw in others. Instead, it saw a deep well of impenetrable blackness, and it knew there was something hidden beneath it. Whatever it plans to do with the information it seeks, it knows that 5 is the light that will reveal the bottom of that well and everything inside of it. Cold sweat matted every inch of my skin during this conversation. I pressed the phone tighter to my ear so as not to miss a word. I asked, why does it even need Faye to find the answer? Her parents probably know what the number means too. Nathan said something in his native language, as though he were speaking to a person sitting in the room with him. Then he said, her parents haven't been to the cabin in a very long time. His connection to them is weak. Maybe he can't keep hold of someone for very long if they aren't on the mountain. After all, Faye has had her sleep disorder since she first went to Pikes Peak, but all as the years passed, this entity faded from her life. It only returned when she came back. I heard the shower turn off. This motherfucker needs to start calling Nathan when Faye is not home and when he has plenty of time to talk. I swear to God, this protagonist has had so many, almost reaching the truth moments that are cut off because of bad time planning. I want to pick Felix up by his ankles upside down and shake him till all the change falls out of his pockets. Mercury? Yes, okay, that was what it was. I was scared. I heard the shower turn off. The glass door slid open and Faye began moving around the bathroom. I walked outside onto the patio and closed the door behind me. But what does it want, Nathan? I mean, once it learns everything it needs, what does it plan to do? Oh, excuse me, I burped. Very ladylike. I mean, once it learns everything it needs, what does it plan to do? Nobody will give me a straight answer. Again, Nathan said something I could not understand. He was talking to someone else. Perhaps one of the elders of his community was with him. It's one of the old evils. Our people believed in them since the beginning. When a person dies, sometimes they become what do you call them? A wraith, a haunting. But these entities were here long before. So many horror films Faye and I had cheerfully watched came flooding into my mind. Oh, so, like a demon, I said. I can't tell you how many movies I've seen where a family finds out that the ghost in their house is actually a demon, and for a few obscure reasons, that's much worse. I felt like I was about to be given that speech. Nathan cleared his throat. Well, no, not exactly. We don't believe in hell or any equivalent place. Our interpretation of the other world is very complex. But basically, this type of entity, they take you away. Not your body, your spirit. They take it out into the dark and away from this world in its light. So far away, eternities upon eternities away. The distance drives your spirit completely mad, and then you become one of them. That's what it does. It separates you from where you are supposed to go in the afterlife. It steals you from yourself. So, yeah, good news all around. I also asked Nathan how he was coping with his father's death and pointed out he sounded especially dreary today. Again, I expressed my condolences and said that I was most honored to have known T-Way and that we are alive because of him. Nathan replied that he knows his father's spirit lives on through his family and in the sacred earth where they live. For that reason, he does not mourn his death. However, Nathan also said something that made my hand go cold as I clutched my phone. He said, I keep having the same nightmare every night. It keeps me awake when it's over. I'm exhausted. And Nathan is just now putting together that means something about the cabin, maybe? Every person in this story seems stupider every page I read. It's like, you know, your wife, who's been having all these crazy demon dreams, well, we don't call them demons, have been having all these non-demon dreams. Well, I'm having dreams now. Not significant, I bet. It's the cabin. I see it in my dreams. It's sitting there in the dark, and there's a bad storm. I'm standing in the distance looking at it. A light turns on inside, and I walk toward it. As I approach, the front door swings open, and something in my heart tells me not to step inside. But I do. Every time I do. When I'm inside, the light's cut out, and it's very dark. In the living room, I can hear my father's voice calling out to me from the bedroom. He's speaking in our language, and sounds happy and peaceful. He tells me to come to him and that he wants to see my face before he goes to be with our ancestors. He calls me Harantoe, my light, the nickname I was given as a child. When I go to push the bedroom door open, I wake up to the sound of a child crying. Every time. Probably means nothing. Nathan went on to explain that he feels these dreams are a sign that he must return to the cabin in the site of T-Way's death. It could be a trap, you know. In fact, I'm sure it is. Nathan spoke once more in his language to whoever was in the room with him. Then he paused. He finally sighed and said, Might be right, but it really feels like him. I made him promise not to go back to the cabin. He agreed and said he'd call me in a few days. I thanked him again for his father's sacrifice. So Nathan's dead. That sucks. I like Nathan. He seemed like the only character in the story so far who was, you know, had a brain. The secrets unravel. A few days passed in relative peace. Laura did not return my calls, and Becca did not return my texts. Rip Nathan! Rip Nathan! R.I.P. to a real one! A little sip here, a little sippy. He doesn't have a brain anymore. Yeah, it was scooped out. A few days passed in relative peace. Laura did not return my calls, and Becca did not return my texts. The standoffishness of the family drives me insane. When Faye and I got home from doing groceries one evening, a package had arrived in the mail. It contained the herbs Nathan had talked about with instructions on how to make them into tea. Not too much, read the little note. Faye brewed some of it up and drank it, and when she was finished, I jokingly told her, Actually, we're sending you out on a vision quest. It's gonna be really intense. She was not amused. We both slept... She was not amused by my casual racism. We both slept soundly that night. No bad dreams, no strange activity outside, no weird sounds. Next morning, there was a knock on the door. So light, it only woke me up. I'm the light sleeping insomniac of the family. I snuck out of bed, trying not to wake Faye, and crept to the front door. It was Laura. She had come to our new home, totally unannounced, uninvited. I knew immediately there was about to be a shitstorm. I couldn't begin to imagine what she was doing here, but I knew by the on her face. I knew by the look on her face that there was trouble. I invited her inside and informed her that Faye was still asleep, and she actually was relieved and said she wanted to talk to me alone. So instead of talking to me alone, we decided to sit down in the one-story home where Faye and the creature definitely can't hear us. In fact, Faye is asleep. You know, the time when Faye is possessed by the demon, by the imposter. You know, the time where it's most dangerous to talk about important things, Let's talk to her mother there, in the same house, on the same floor. Ah! I want this story to be good. I want it to be good. I'm still enjoying it, but what the fuck? I cannot be the only angry person here at this. It can't just be me. Like, what? Just fucking write your characters like they aren't fucking stupid. Write them like they're not idiots. It's not hard. Just think to yourself, what would I do in this situation? And if the answer is this, maybe go talk to someone about learning how, I don't even know. Like, certifiably insane person Felix is. I invited her inside and informed her that Faye was still asleep, and she actually was relieved and said she wanted to talk to me alone. From her bag, she produced a photo album. We sat on the couch where she quietly apologized to me for everything, for being constantly evasive, for lying, and for letting us go to that cabin in the first place. I waved away her ramblings and demanded to know the purpose of her visit. I had absolutely had enough of all of this and wanted to get to the bottom of things. Laura dropped her voice to a whisper and opened the photo album. As she turned the pages, I realized it was actually a scrapbook, a very elaborate one that had taken years of effort to construct. There were photos, drawings, designs, letters, postcards, even a necklace and some flattened flowers. I saw pictures of Faye I had never seen before. She was absolutely adorable as a child. Her glowing smile poked out from beneath the little strawberry locks in photo after photo. This is what I wanted to show you. I don't know how to talk to Faye about it. I was amazed. I took in the expert handiwork to craft something like this. It took expert handiwork to craft something like this. You made this? I asked. She flipped further into the scrapbook and revealed a few old pictures of herself in the later stages of pregnancy. Centerpiece of one of the pages was a photograph of Laura, big-bellied and bearing a youthful smile, a little 5-year-old Faye curiously resting her ear on her mother's tummy. It was a priceless image, and one that hadn't seen the light of day in decades. Faye and I put this together, actually, when she was very little. It made sense. Faye was one of the most talented arts and crafts hobbyists I'd ever known. So, what happened? Laura looked over her shoulder and down the hall. She obviously feared Faye would woke up, so instead of leaving the house like a rational human being, we decided to stay in the house. His name was Christopher, she said, tears welling up in her eyes as she spoke. She turned the page and there was a photo of Laura undergoing an ultrasound and giving a thumbs up. He was stillborn, a little over a month before the due date. I had no idea what to say. I felt that saying, I'm sorry, was too empty, so instead I just remained silent. Placenta abruption. It's rare, but it happens. He scooted closer to me on the couch and set the scrapbook on my lap, then grabbed my wrist. He said, Felix, Faye doesn't remember any of this. We have never, ever spoken of it. I asked how that could be possible, given that she was certainly old enough to remember an event like this. Laura explained that the emergency occurred while Greg was out with the girls. The paramedic rushed Laura to the hospital, but the baby could not be saved. When she and Greg finally decided to break the news to their daughters that Christopher had died, Becca was heartbroken. Faye didn't react. It was as if what they were telling her simply didn't register. Laura would say, "Do you understand that Christopher is never coming home?" And Faye would respond, "Yes, Mommy," with a blank expression. This went on for weeks. I know by the blank on your face that you don't like the protagonist. What does that mean? The on my face? Meh. This went on for weeks. They would occasionally ask about Christopher as if he'd be visiting soon, and then suddenly she'd not remember anything about him, as if he never existed. She began to act out at school and would throw violent tantrums for no reason. I'm mimicking the mistakes in the story. Oh. So, Destiny. You see, I might be too stupid for that, Neo. The child psychologist warned that Faye was not handling the situation well, so Laura and Greg decided to spend several days up at the cabin with the girls in hopes of separating little Faye's mind from the heavy event. That's when it happened. Whatever it is that lives in the forest up there, up in the trees, or down in the hole, took notice of Faye. It wanted to learn more, but her little brain shut down in terror when it got too close. After that day, he never spoke of Christopher again and seems completely unaware that he ever existed. Quite suddenly, unexpectedly even, Faye's voice erupted from behind us. She was standing in the hallway, perhaps for a long time. I slammed shut the scrapbook. The air went out of the room. There was an agonizingly long moment of stillness, during which all of us exchanged surprised looks. "What's that?" he finally asked, pointing to the scrapbook on my lap. I was useless. A deer in the headlights. Laura got up and got between me and Faye, giving her a hug and asking how she was feeling. Said she needed to talk, but Faye pushed her aside and walked over to the couch. Her fiery eyes locked on the scrapbook and didn't blink. She reached down and opened it. The page she revealed had a colorful cutout of the number 5. It was one of the final pages of the book. Her jaw trembled and tears instantly welled in her eyes. A look of excruciating pain fell over her face and she began hyperventilating. Laura rounded the couch and tried to massage her, but Faye slapped her hand away and grabbed the scrapbook, then raced off to the bedroom. We cried there for hours and never let us in. So my guess as the number 5 is she wiped the entirety of her 5th year of existence out of her mind. And by doing this, she kept a whole year of her life hidden from this invader, this imposter. And now that the scrapbook's back and she's seen the number 5, she has now been basically just stripped bare of any protection she has. She relearned what 5 meant. And with that, she's gone. I spent the rest of the day alone. Faye never emerged from the bedroom and wouldn't speak to me when I knocked. So I played Overwatch. Oh! I knew I hated him for a reason. Overwatch. Blah. Blah. Nah, Overwatch was fine back in the day. But I played Overwatch to distract myself from the horrible knot of stress in my stomach. But because I was playing ranked, it just got worse. Meanwhile, texting with my best friends, Richard and Jason, regarding the new developments. When I got up for a drink, I heard the bedroom door click. It was ready to let me in. She was sitting on the bed with the scrapbook on her leg when I pushed the door open. I said as gently as I could, "You want to talk about it?" Her face was streaked with hundreds of tears. Her skin was pale, her eyes were lifeless. Never had I seen her in such a state. I considered calling the paramedics for fear that she might hurt herself, or me. I remember now. I stood there in the doorway, ready to make a move. I wasn't sure how Faye would react to the knowledge that I'd been conspiring with her mother about their secret past. "Mom and I spent all summer getting the nursery set up," she said, tracing a finger over the photos. "Dad was so excited that he finally was going to have a son. So we did a sports theme." I walked over to the bed and sat down, quiet as a lamb, trying not to trigger another explosion. Faye kept her hands pressed on the scrapbook as though she were feeling for a pulse. The colorful number 5 rested at the center of the page, laid over various photos. In one, there was a baseball mural painted on the wall with 5 players, and in another, a toddler onesie in the design of a basketball jersey. It displayed the number 5. Faye started crying again and choked out, "Christopher was going to be the 5th member of our family." We talked for a long time. mostly Fae talk. So it wasn't that she erased the 5th year of her life. It just happened to be in the 5th year. It could still be that she erased the whole year from her brain. But the number 5, Christopher, who she erased from her brain and locked deep away, that's what it was. The 5th family member that she refused to accept. Okay, I got it. I got it.
5.
5. 5. 5. We talked for a long time. Mostly Faye talked. I just quietly watched her face in awe as a deluge of ancient memories flooded her mind. Sometimes she could barely speak. Other times she shook her head and said it was all a dream. Her denial rose and fell in waves, and she grasped at all the faded images in her head and tried to describe them to me with great strain. A tomb had been unearthed, and Faye was excavating it despite the pain it wrought on her. All I could do was hold her hand through it. That night, I made Nathan's tea again, and we both drank it. Faye fell asleep, and I stayed awake watching Netflix. Just as I was about to shut off the computer, I heard rustling outside, and then the voice of a little girl. She said, "It's Faye! I can't see you! Who are you?" I walked down the hall and peered out the blinds in the living room. A dark figure walked right past the window, scaring me half to death. It came from our backyard, and no doubt had been standing beside our bedroom window. I ran down the hallway and grabbed my sweats and shoes, then bolted to the door and looked all around the property. There, across the road, standing under a street lamp, was a man. His body glowed in the pale yellow light, but his face was totally black. He looked nearly 7 feet tall, and one of his shoulders was noticeably higher than the other. His posture was rigid and reminiscent of the way Faye sleepwalked. I knew exactly who it was. I can't explain what prompted me to run after him, but I wanted to grab this thing by the neck and beat it to death with my bare hands. Perhaps it was because I was so tired my fear instincts hadn't kicked in, or perhaps I just had had enough. But instead of clawing me to death right there in the street, the figure turned and ran. I chased after him, screaming at the top of my lungs to stay the fuck away from my family and my house. The thing moved very fast, but limped with a freakish gait. My mind envisioned a rail-thin creature made of oily black parts stretching on the costume of a human and gracelessly lurching around in it. This thing was not a person. Its movements were animalistic, its strides were far too long, its breath wheezed in air like an antique accordion, and the stench that dragged behind it singed my nose. It smelled like a wildfire. "No woods for you to fuck around in out here," I screamed. Lights flickered on in houses all around me as I chased the figure. It practically galloped and was always 20 feet ahead of me. I chased it down for 2 blocks. It rounded a few turns and finally bounded over a chain link fence into the community park where there were no lights. I couldn't see a damn thing, so I had to run all the way around to get to the other side to get in. The only thing I could see was a silhouette. The figure stood there in the empty field, shrouded in the night, gazing up at the moon. The silver outline of its body indicated that it was facing away from me. One of his hands twitched wildly. The other was gnarled up like driftwood. The sight of it out here, so far from help, unnerved me. I approached it still, committed to ending this nightmare tonight, one way or the other. My courage evaporated about 10 feet from the figure when it issued a growl I can't even begin to describe. Rawr! Rawr! It was so deep I felt it in my rib cage as much as I heard it. Excuse me for a second. Throat's getting a little rough after hours of reading. It was so deep I felt it in my rib cage as much as I heard it. I stopped in my tracks, but managed to say, "You will never take her. You will never have Faye. You will leave us alone forever. Go back to that fucking mountain and bury yourself in a mine." I growled again, then gurgled up a wet laugh. What the fuck? Give me a second, chat. I just heard like a bell ding. I don't have a doorbell. Yeah, nothing outside. I don't have a doorbell. I heard like a boom. Don't like that. What's your name? It asked in my voice. It had been practicing. It was perfect now. May I come in? How do you carry on a conversation with an entity that is basically a demonic parrot? I said, much louder than before. You will leave us alone and go back to the mountain. Faye will never be yours. The imposter emitted a shrieking of an infant. The sound startled me and felt so wrong coming from the form such of a large man. Then it said in the voice of a child, You go down in the hole, that's where he'll put you. Look at me, you piece of shit, I said. Tried to sound menacing, but in reality, I'm a coward. Most people can sense it, so there was little doubt the imposter knew it too. Then it said something I did not expect. The sound threw me off so much my head spun. Oh. It's using Nathan's voice now. Tell me about the child, it said. Nathan's voice wafted gently from its throat. Tell me about the child. Before I could speak, the imposter whirled around and squared off with me. There are no words to express the combination of shock and instant despair I felt. My knees came straight out from under my body, and I fell onto the wet grass. Staring down at me, boring into me with lidless eyes, was the face of Nathan, my friend, my protector, the son of a man who had given his life to help me. Now his skin was hard and bruised, his scalp flayed, his eyes tormented. He'd been stretched over a skull that didn't quite fit and a body that rattled with loose collected bones. A slimy black liquid dribbled down the arms. Perhaps it was blood. It's too dark to tell. It spoke a phrase in the language of Nathan's people, the same one Nathan had uttered over the phone last month that made us sick. And I began vomiting profusely as I lay there on the ground. Tell me about the child, it said once more, then smiled. The lips spread and stretched in an expression of malevolent joy, bearing the rotten maw of a long-dead wolf. Nathan's calm voice seeped out of it. Let me speak to the one who followed you home. I gasped for air but couldn't command the body to move. The creature took a few steps toward me, and I slammed shut my eyes, expecting to feel those hideous fangs in my neck. Instead, I heard its footsteps approach, then recede in the opposite direction. When I opened my eyes, the imposter had stepped over me and was walking away. It was already in the distance, moving quickly, back towards my neighborhood, towards my house. Followed you home! Followed you home! Followed you home! You're home! It followed you home! Ooh. Okay. That was really, really excellently done. The tension was palpable. The writing in this story is awesome. When it's in the moment action, in the moment scares and spooks and descriptions, it's gorgeous. And you already think about you already know what I think about the people, so I don't need to, you already know what I think about the characters, I don't need to go into it again, it's fine. But the story itself, so far, really, really, really good. And now, we are on the final part of Stolen Tongues, part 16. When I was 3 years old, my parents and I went with some family friends to a cabin up in the mountains. One of the other family's kids was sick with some sort of flu. A few nights in, I came down with it and threw up everywhere, over and over. My father was so grossed out that his reaction made me cry. A lot. My mom had to kick him out of the room while she took care of me. His horrified expression imprinted in my mind forever and taught me that there was something terribly wrong with being sick. I'm 28 years old now, and I spent years of my life being absolutely paranoid about throwing up. Metophobia controls so much of a person's existence. It makes you afraid to share someone's drink, afraid to eat without washing your hands, afraid to get on roller coasters, afraid to fly in planes, afraid to try new things. But at some point, after decades with that phobia, you almost forget what causes you to regard all of those things with fear. The possibility of vomiting becomes subconscious. You don't even think about it anymore. You are just afraid of virtually everything that could cause it, and yet you have no immediate explanation for why you are afraid anymore. You just are. Although that possibility no longer lingers at the precipice of my conscious thoughts, the imposter found it. He went straight to the core of my being and saw what terrifies me the most. He brought it out and used it against me. Repeating Nathan's spiritual purge chant didn't just disable me there in the field, it was a reminder of the creature's remarkable power to turn my own flawed humanity upon me. A reminder that it was planning to make me suffer in the most personal of ways. The imposter was designing a personal hell for me and was nearly ready to drag me down into it. I'm bought in. That first dude, A game at the end of the last chapter and the start of this one. Round it off well, please. Give me a good ending. And I don't mean, oh, happily ever after good. I mean, no, I need the ending to slap, please. And so the world collapsed on me. I laid there on the ground, puking my guts out, knowing that my fiancé was asleep and unguarded in bed while a terrible being strode toward her through the dark. It called out her name in every voice familiar to her. It said things that would make her happy. It begged for help and mimicked the cries of children. It capitalized on her innate motherly instincts, on her buried memories, and on the vulnerability of her unconscious state. And all I could do was stagger around and wait for the thrum of my death-gripped heart to subside. After a few moments, moonlight poured back into my vision, lighting the way out of the park. My pulse recovered from its frenzy and the numbness of my limbs faded. The taste in my mouth, for once, didn't paralyze me. I tore through the streets to get back to my house. I had no plan. A lot of lights were on in the houses that lined my street. Many of my neighbors had likely heard me screaming. I hoped this meant that the imposter would think twice about moving out in the open beneath their watchful gazes. The front door of my house was wide open, and it was pitch dark inside. I shouted for Faye, but couldn't find her. The bed was empty and disheveled, as though she jumped out of it or had been dragged from it. A faint sound caught my attention, the sound of crying, and I struggled to determine where it came from. After looking in every room, I realized it was coming from outside. As I stepped out the sliding glass door in our bedroom that leads to the backyard, the sound grew louder and mixed with shuffling noises. There's a walkway that runs along the side of our house and connects the backyard to the front, and there, in the darkness, was Faye. She was sleepwalking in the most unusual manner I'd ever seen. She stood high up on the balls of her feet as before, but was bent over at the waist. Her hair and arms dangled lifelessly toward the ground, and she shuffled toward the street where I'd first seen the shadowy figure. Faye's neck was craned in such a way that I could see her face swaying just outside her left thigh. Two mournful eyes peered up at me from it, and her lips trembled as she cried. I couldn't tell if she was conscious or not. She mumbled something, but with her cries, I couldn't make out what she was saying. I wrapped my arms around her waist and literally carried her inside. She clawed at me and landed a tiger palm on my crotch. Just as we careened into the living room, a police car drifted by, its flashlights tracing all across the house. I gently closed the door and peered out the window. It took me a moment to see it, but in the tree, in our front yard, a dark form was crouched on the thickest branch. I yanked the curtains down over the blinds. Faye and I remained awake for the rest of the night until dawn. We heard footsteps on our roof and in the attic, but no voices. On 2 occasions, someone knocked gently on the front door and once on the sliding glass door in the back, but we remained in the living room, We communicated only through pen and paper and prevented each other from nodding off and dreaming about the scrapbook or about Christopher. The last thing she wrote was, "Got an idea. Explain tomorrow." Ooh, okay. At about 6 a.m., my cell phone buzzed on the table. All had been quiet for a few hours now, and Faye and I were almost done with the second Lord of the Rings movie. Yes! I really need to rewatch them. When I grabbed the phone, I was surprised to see that it was the ranger from Pikes Peak. His name is Greg, the same as Faye's dad, so I just refer to him as Bop, Bop, Bop. I can't talk. I've been talking for 2.5 hours straight. When I grabbed the phone, I was surprised to see that it was the ranger from Pikes Peak. His name is Greg, the same as Faye's dad, so I just referred to him by a title in these posts. We hadn't spoken in a while. I immediately feared that his call was confirmation of the grim likelihood that Nathan was dead. He skipped all the pleasantries and said, "Better sit down." A nauseous fear crept up my throat when he said that. I shook my head and replied, "Just tell me. Just tell me." Static began to form around my peripheral vision, which happens when I'm feeling faint. If it grows and covers my entire field of view, I pass out. The ranger cleared his throat and tried to speak with composure. I could hear on his voice that he'd been crying. "We got a call from one of Nathan's relatives. Said he'd been missing for a few days. Thought he went camping with his buddies, but none of them knew where he was. On my routine this morning, I dropped by Faye's folks' cabin." There was a long silence, which told me everything I needed to know. But then the ranger said more. "Got the cops everywhere up here now. Whole mountain shut down. They still got T-Way listed as a missing person. Now they're out hunting for a body they mean it this time. Looking for a murder, too. They still got T-Way listed as a missing person, but now they're out hunting for a body like they mean it this time. Looking for a murderer, too, but..." I interrupted him and demanded to know why. There was no way I could hide the frantic anxiety any longer. The ranger said, "Something happened up there, up at the cabin. They did something to him. I don't know how to tell you." He paused again, struggling to hold back tears. I crumpled to the floor while he spoke. The news singed every nerve in my body. Pain radiated up from my stomach across every limb. My scalp tingled. The static grew in my vision. "Brother, you knew that Nathan was killed and then skinned. What do you mean? Why is this like a shock to you?" "I need to know," I said. The ranger insisted that the details were unnecessary, but I begged him. What I'm about to tell you is a paraphrasing of what the ranger said. Some of this info might change as the Denver coroner performs an official autopsy, but here's what we know. Excuse me? Oh. The bathroom window of the cabin had been forced open from the outside, but also the front door was unlocked and slightly open when the ranger arrived. The bedroom door was locked from the inside. It appeared that 2 people, one of them being Nathan, had been staying inside of the cabin for 2 or 3 nights. Nathan's satellite phone was found inside, my number being the last one dialed. It was unclear whether Nathan was present at the cabin when we last spoke, when he promised he wouldn't go to the cabin. There was a buck knife jammed into one of the walls, and many unusual symbols and words had been carved all over the hallway leading from the living room to the bathroom. There were words in Hopoi, the language Nathan's people speak, and Zuni, a language they do not. The words haven't yet been translated. There was a carving of a large dream catcher on the outside of the bedroom door, and non-lethal amounts of blood spattered on the carpet and lower wall opposite of said door. On the inside of the bedroom door, there were small marks everywhere, as though someone had been pounding very hard on it. I feel like Nathan kept it trapped in the room. I don't think Nathan was in the room. I think Nathan kept it trapped in there. The ranger and sheriff speculate that Nathan sat on the floor in the hallway for several hours, or perhaps an entire day. Someone was in the bedroom, but the door remained locked. It's possible that they had a long conversation. At no point was the electricity or heat functioning in the cabin, because it had been shut off after I was rescued on my second visit. This meant that however long Nathan stayed, he remained in the dark in freezing weather each night. 2 pairs of tracks were found leaving the cabin. one from the bedroom window, the other from the front door, heading into the forest outback. The tracks joined together, indicating that the two people walked side by side into the woods. Nathan's body was found by the ranger's dogs approximately a quarter-mile in, buried upside down, with his legs erupting from the soil at the knee. Upon exhumation, it was discovered that Nathan's face had been scalped and had been flayed or mutilated. There were deep lacerations in his back that appeared to be from claws, and carvings on his arms that looked self-inflicted. The unofficial cause of death, however, was suffocation. He had been buried alive. Oh, and everything in the cellar was gone. It was completely empty. Oh, you mean the stuff, the only stuff that could be used to make freaking dream catchers? To keep away the evil? You mean that thing that you should have utilized forever ago? Baka? Idiot? Dummy? Stupid head? I've never come so close to ending my own life. The guilt and horror I felt at hearing the ranger's words are still ineffable, so I won't bother trying to document them. Somehow, I convinced myself that there would be a time for grieving in the future, and even for acts of penance, but right now I needed to focus on Faye. After all, she might end up just like Nathan and T-Way if we didn't figure out what to do. A few days passed with no strange activity beyond a voice here and there. I was hesitant to let Faye sleep, for fear that she would dream of her little brother and give the impostor what it sought, but she explained to me her idea. A plan to get rid of the creature once and for all, and for the first time in months, I actually felt a glimmer of hope. We kept drinking Nathan's tea after concluding that it was doing no discernible harm, and Faye spent the days furiously drawing, journaling, and texting with her mom and sister. I called Angela, the show-shown woman, and requested that she come visit us with her hypnotist friend to speak with Faye again, and to bless our new house. I also made as large a donation as I could to T-Way and Nathan's community to help cover the cost of their funeral ceremonies. In my spare time in the evenings, I wrote a letter for both of them, and I intend to read it at their place of burial someday. Each night, Faye went to bed crying. She had definitely entered some kind of mourning process, long delayed by years of denial, and now I bore witness to the lifelong impact of her loss. Never have I seen a human in so much pain. But Faye assured me that she would be all right, and that I should have faith in her. I silently obliged, because I could trust her more than anyone in the world. She knows herself, and I put my faith in that. Little bro, this entire fucking story is about how Faye does not know herself. The entire story is how she lied to herself about the number 5 and her brother. You are literally talking about how she is currently processing years of denial, and you're saying that you trust Faye more than anyone in the world. I feel like Faye is one of the least trustworthy people in the world, and she does not know herself. I would say that Faye explicitly doesn't know herself. One night, I snuck into the bedroom and retrieved Faye's drawings. She had produced several pictures of her own nightmares, of memories from her childhood, and of a young man that looked like her. I believe he's Christopher, or at least how Faye imagines he might look, that he survived and grown up. She wrote all kinds of things around the drawings, mostly detailed descriptions of the images, sometimes stories from when she was young, and wrote her brother's name dozens of times. She even drew a family portrait that included herself at age 5 holding a smiling baby. On the 5th night after the incident in the park, Angela and her hypnotist friend arrived. Faye informed our guest of what she believed. Faye informed the guest of what she believed we could do to get rid of the entity for good. I went outside and set the drawings under the tree in front of our yard, where I'd last seen the shadowy figure. Then, we got Faye comfortable and set her up on the couch. Fortunately for us, Faye has the remarkable ability of being able to fall asleep anytime, any place, so all we had to do was dim the lights in the house. I made a pasta dish for everyone, and within half an hour, she was out cold. This time, she didn't drink Nathan's tea. For a long time, Angela, the hypnotist, and I sat at the kitchen. sat at the kitchen table over coffee and ice cream, kept our voices low, and discussed all of the recent events related to the cabin, waiting for the imposter to show up. The hypnotist was especially interested in the dream catchers and wanted to know who made them. I told her I didn't have any idea, and that at first I thought the entity itself created them. After speaking with you no sleepers, you are more insightful than I am, no shit. I started to believe that someone had summoned or was controlling the entity with the original dream catcher. Then, when I broke it, I realized it was protecting me. Do you think it's possible one of her family members created it, or the ranger? You trust him? Many people have speculated that T-Way and Nathan were not honest with me, or not who they said they were, but I honestly hadn't considered that the ranger himself could be behind all this. I conceded it was possible. If there is some, human who summoned this creature to do all this torture, this story goes from a B to an F. I will crash out. If it's
all this time, it was the ranger who did it.
I will crash the fuck out. Faye spoke a few times in her sleep. She laughed and said things like, "Do you need help with that? What the hell are you doing?" After she said the name of her boss, I realized she was dreaming about work. We waited until about midnight. She's crashing out, oh well. I'm crashing out, oh well. After she said her boss's name, I realized she was dreaming about work. We waited until about midnight, but by then no activity had occurred and no sounds were coming from outside. Angela woke Faye up and said, "We need to take a more direct approach." The two women propped Faye up hospital bed style and began to hum a beautiful song. Angela intermittently spoke in her native tongue and traced lines with her finger across Faye's forehead. The hypnotist occasionally raised her hands in the air and then touched Faye's shoulders. After several minutes, my fiancée went limp. Her head slumped back on the couch and her arm dangled to the floor. Finally, she opened her eyes, which were now rolled back in her head, and she began breathing rhythmically. "Who are you?" "Faye. Are you alone?" "I'm with you." "Who else is here?" "Angela, Felix, Erica." Who's her boss? The hypnotist corrected Faye. She said, "Erica isn't here. It's just us four." So the entity is pretending to be her boss. Gotcha. Faye looked puzzled for a moment, then said, "Okay." Angela joined the conversation and touched Faye's arm. She asked, "The one who follows you, the one who calls out in the night, where is he now? Is he here?" Faye's head craned from side to side, like she was emptying water from her ears. Then she replied, "No." "Where is he?" Faye sat motionless for what felt like a whole minute, then finally said, "Across the dark." "Faye, can you call out to him? Can you ask him to come here?" He remained silent. The hypnotist asked again, "No." "Honey, we can't get rid of him unless you bring him here." Faye began to whimper. Her mouth trembled, and she uttered in the voice of a small child, "Please, no." Goosebumps rippled across my arms as I sat at the table watching. Angela implored, and Faye began to cry. "You have to call out to him. Tell him where you are." Faye slowly rocked her head back and forth and tried to reach up in the air to protect herself, but the weight of her hypnotic state kept her in place. Suddenly, her whole body went stiff, and her eyes rolled forward. They landed squarely on me, then looked over my shoulder and focused on something 1,000 miles behind me. Her mouth opened slightly, and a gurgling sound came up from her throat. She said in a wet, masculine voice, "Watch you! Watch you!" Faye leaped off the couch and shuddered as though she were trying to throw something off her back. Her body stayed rigid, and she turned and faced away from us. Every joint in her limbs popped in sickening cracks. She bent her head back and stared up at the place where the ceiling met the wall in front of her, then tightly balled her fists. She said again, "Watch you! Watch you! Watch you!" The hypnotist and Angela were standing now, gathering around Faye to prevent her from hurting herself or dashing off into the night. I played safety a few feet away, trying to be ready for anything. Faye, tell us where he is! She breathed hard through gritted teeth and forced out the words, bedroom. We all turned and looked behind us. Down the dark hall, the hypnotist wrapped her hands around Faye's forehead from behind and started whispering in her ear. I turned and quietly moved down the hall towards the bedroom. As I approached it, I can hear the sliding glass door to the yard open. When I stepped into our bedroom, a cold breeze was blowing into it. The glass door on the opposite wall was wide open. I looked around to make sure I wasn't about to get ambushed, then approached the door. By the way, having a sliding glass door in your bedroom has got to be one of the most horrifying things ever. I don't like that. Even slightly. Oh, give me a second, chat. I got a text from the wife. Boop. All right, we're good. The backyard light has a motion sensor that automatically activates when something moves. It was off, and the yard was dark. However, at the far end of the yard, I can make out the shape of a man, the same figure I'd seen a week earlier, the one I'd made a dire mistake of chasing after. This time, the figure was even larger than before. It appeared to stand at the roughly 7 feet tall. It faced always... God. Yeah, you can tell it's hour 3 of stream. It faced away as always, and his head was cocked towards the moon. Its hands lay pressed against its sides, fists balled, tightly clutching many pieces of paper. Faye's drawings. It growled, "Wolfman, Wolfman." I slid the door shut as fast as I could and locked it, then raced back to the living room. Faye was now sitting on the couch, head still craned up toward the ceiling, with Angela and the hypnotist speaking to her. They implored her to wake up, but it seemed as though she was struggling to return. Outside, a voice howled. It sounded like a little girl crying out for her mother. Another voice erupted, Laura's, shouting, "Greg, we need to take her to the hospital." Faye began to convulse, so the two women clutched her tightly and begged her to wake up. An infant began to shriek in the yard, then it slowly moved down the side of the house to the front door. There was a loud, slow knock, followed by more voices. The knock repeated over and over, and Becca's voice called out from behind the door, "Faye, where are you? Help me, please help." At last, Faye sucked in a huge breath and leaned back on the couch. Her head returned to a normal position, and she stood up frantically trying to collect herself. The pounding on the door grew louder, and the voices began to overlap as though several people were standing in front of her house, crying out in the night. She said breathlessly, "It's here! It's here!" And she looked at me. In Faye's eyes, I saw uncertainty and terror, mirrors of my own state. But then, a look of conviction fell over her face. The fear seemed to evaporate right off of it. A man began to cry just outside the door, and said in Greg's voice, "He was my child too, Laura. My son. Did you think a weekend in the goddamn mountains would make me forget?" They gasped. His words were so perfectly clear that I nearly believed he was on the other side of the door. "Don't you fucking dare! Just let her forget. Let her forget. This doesn't have to be her burden too." Faye burst into tears and wobbled to the door. She rested her face against it and reached for the knob. The shrieks of a baby echoed through the house, followed by a little girl saying, "What's your name? I can't see you. It's Faye. Faye!" I watched my fiancé collapse to the floor in despair. Angela and the hypnotist took a step forward, but Faye put her hand in the air to halt them. She sat on the ground, leaned her back against the door, and brushed the strawberry locks out of her face. The door knocked again. My own voice followed it, saying, "May I come in? It's freezing out here." Another storm's coming tonight. I have to tell you something, Faye said, gently knocking on the door. I know what you really want. The voices fell silent all at once, and only an uneven breathing remained. I had a baby brother. His name was Christopher. He was number 5. Ooh. Ooh. Okay, I'm getting the heebie-jeebies. That part's good. It's like just as the song ended here too. Ooh. Ooh, that was creepy. The breathing cut out. Faye knocked on the door again. After a minute, something knocked back. I remember now. I couldn't remember for years, or I guess I didn't want to. It's easier for me to just pretend things never happened. Some kids make things exist. Friends, monsters, places. But I made Christopher not exist. That way I didn't have to lose him. His death was just make-believe. A long, slow, scratching noise resounded through the door. The thing outside was dragging a claw across the wood like it was drawing a picture. Faye put her palm on the door, feeling the weak vibrations of the scratching. For a long time, the number was all I could remember. I knew it meant something more, but every time I thought about it, my whole body would hurt. I'd feel sick, and then I'd just fall asleep. Or if I was dreaming, I'd just wake up. I always knew it meant something more. The doorknob rattled, and a wet, clunking sound emitted from it. The imposter was gnawing at the other side of the door. The imposter was gnawing on it from the other side. The clatter of a hungered, jagged teeth rose in vile sympathy. God, I can't read. The clatter of 100 jagged teeth rose in a vile symphony across the living room. He was stillborn. Do you know what that is? He died inside my mom. All this time I've been avoiding burying Christopher. But you finally helped me realize why it's time. I laid him to rest. Faye, come hold him, Becca's voice called out. I don't get it. He falls asleep so fast when you've got him. You want her to be your new mommy, Caleb? The scratching noises persisted. Faye wiped tears out of her eyes and took a deep breath. Now you know everything. I wanted you to know. A chorus of voices rang out in the night. An infant screamed, a toddler cried. Greg and Laura and Becky and T-Way and Nathan and the ranger all spoke at once. Decades of pain washed through the doors, words of anguish, the sorrowful cries drowned out all other sounds in the room. Angela, the hypnotist, and I exchanged terrifying glances, but Faye remained motionless at the door, staring up into my eyes. She didn't blink. The knocking on the door swelled into violent pounding. The entity used every possible trick it could. It tried to hit her right where her wounds were fresh and tried to tear open the oldest scars, but Faye never budged. She held her ground emotionally and never took her eyes off me. They were filled with a knowing calm, as if to say, enough. When the imposter got no response, it stomped from the front door to the nearby window. It towered over us and blocked out the moonlight that lit up the drapes. A huge shadow fell across Faye as she sat there, unmoved. What am I? It growled. Faye's lips quivered, but she said nothing. A titanic scream erupted from the creature, and it slapped the glass with an open hand. The sound shook our home and struck a lightning bolt of terror in the pit of my stomach. But Faye did not react. She didn't even flinch. Then, the entity said something I did not expect. Instead of assuming the voice of someone we knew, it spoke in several I did not recognize. It spoke only one labored sentence, but each word was uttered with a different tongue. I walked 1,000 years across the dark to find you. Small part of me wanted to run away screaming, but I was so afraid my legs wouldn't even move. The finality, the longing of what it said was incomprehensibly dreary. I totally lost my nerve. That moment, another thing even less expected happened. The shadow receded from the window, coloring Faye's face silver with the dim kiss of moonlight. Sullen footsteps lurched across our yard and vanished into the backdrop of cricket songs. After a while, we were alone. All three of us looked down at Faye. A relieved smile spread across her face. She wasn't crying anymore. Who? So, it seems to me like this monster preys upon people's inability to accept things that have happened. It targets their vulnerabilities. It targets the things about them that they can't bear to face. And when it learns that from them, that is when it's able to take over, to kill them, to attack, to whatever it does. But Faye accepted it. Faye accepted herself and her loss, and through her acceptance, the creature couldn't find any more purchase in her. That's my thought process. We'll see if it changes. But it seems to be a story about accepting loss and what we will do to repress that loss, and what we'll do to chase after the possibility of it being fixed. Nathan died because he still believed he could find Tiwei in the mountains. But it seems like Faye was spared because she decided that she could accept and bury her brother. Figuratively bury, but she buried him. I think. That's my thought process so far. My literary analysis. It's been several days since the imposter left. He returned once, only to sing the morose lullaby. So me adu, I'm a naked soul, me adu. Faye slept through it entirely. I didn't mention it to her. My fiancée has been sleeping well since that night. She hasn't talked at all, and certainly hasn't sleptwalked. In fact, she hasn't even really been tossing and turning like she normally does. It's as if a dreadful weight was lifted from her shoulders. During the days, she cries, she cuddles with me and talks about her childhood. She Skypes with her mom and sister. They cry too. I have shed many tears with her, and for her loss, but I understand now what she did. Faye never dreamed of Christopher, only the number 5. As a child, she repressed the memory and pain of his death, and thus forgot about him. That number became the lockbox in which he was hidden. It was the coffin she buried him in, and she buried him so deep within herself, she couldn't even remember him in her nightmares. That is why the entity never fully understood what she was hiding, and that is why it never gained full access to her. Faye's lifelong sleep disturbances were her mind's attempts at keeping that welling pain repressed, but by talking in her sleep, she invited dark attention to herself. If you speak long enough into the void, someone is bound to start listening. Someone, or something, heard Faye's pain and saw it as a weakness. It saw those cracks in her heart as a passage into her soul, and so it chose her. The imposter became transfixed with my fiancée, not because she was an easy target, but because she was a monolithic puzzle box of torment, a challenge, a worthy opponent. I remarked early on in these stories that one of the things I love most about Faye is her intelligence. She has an artistic creativity that allows her to see things in ways I do not. She realized that the imposter knew it could tug on her puppet strings by delving into the darkest parts of her mind. In all those hidden places, there were weapons to use against her, to weaken her, to wear her down. But instead of burying her secrets deeper, she unearthed them and brought them into the light. By moving Christopher and the number that represented him from her subconscious into her waking thoughts, Faye unleashed a tidal wave of forgotten pain on herself. But also, she took away the imposter's power over her. She cut off her own puppet strings, and now there was nothing left for the creature to grab onto. And so it left. I called it! I'm also going to call that the story ends with him now being the one who the monster is trying to possess, because it did find his weakness. Bleh. Vomit. Bleh. I've also shed tears for my dear friends, T-Way and Nathan. Perhaps I can never convey the warmth of their personalities and the sincerity of their hearts, but I trusted them entirely, and I do not believe they had anything to do with the foul thing that stalked my fiancé for all these years. Their deaths are a mortal wound on my heart, and I will always carry the agony of their loss. I want it to hurt, as a permanent reminder. They have given so much to me and asked nothing in return, only that I preserve the goodness of their people in my memory. By writing about their altruism and sacrifices, I am trying to fulfill that promise. May their spirits live on in the sacred land they protected. We may never know for sure who built the Dreamcatcher at their cabin, or the one in the trees outside my old home. Right now, I believe that they were built by different people who live on Pikes Peak. Some of them want to protect fools like me who venture into that mountain without understanding its significance to the Native Americans living there. Others, perhaps, wish to harm them. Maybe even Angela herself built one for us. Maybe you can't tell the person they're designed to protect, else it doesn't work. Faye's ring has also been the topic of heated debate, whether or not it's cursed, what should be done with it. For now, my fiancée does not wish to part with it, but she might consider it if anything happens again. It is still a precious family heirloom, and the symbol of my devotion, whatever taint it may carry. I guess what I mean is, we still don't have all the answers, and the unfortunate thing is that we may never. The true nature of the entity, and the full explanation of what happened to us might remain a mystery. But in time, I believe I will come to understand more about this terrible ordeal. We plan to head back to Colorado in a few weeks to spend time with Faye's parents. Pay our deepest respects to T-Way and Nathan's community, and to witness the bulldozing of the cabin. Whatever secrets it still hides, let them be buried deep beneath the rubble in the snows of decades to come. Thank you. No sleep. And that is Stolen Tongues. What a story. What a story. Highs and lows. Very good highs, very low lows. How will they beat the monster? Do I like it? It's pretty anticlimactic. I don't mean like I need a battle. That's not what I mean by anticlimactic. But I do like the concept of, because you accept the things that make you weak, or the things with which it can control you with, by accepting them, you deny it of power. That's a really good way to deal with the monster. Do I think it was handled correctly? Not really. It felt very rushed. Like, Faye suddenly decided how to fix it. And then she fixed it. It was kind of like the writer knew how they wanted to end the story, like how to beat the monster. I think the writer knew how they wanted to beat the monster, but they didn't know how to get their characters there. I feel like character writing was a big struggle with this story. I don't think a single character in this story did anything that was remotely intelligent. I feel like every one of them survived through the creature's ineptitude and not their own ability. Literally, Nathan killed himself. Literally, Nathan's like, I know this is an imposter. I saw my father's corpse, but I'm gonna go up to the mountain anyway. Tee-hee, tee-hee. And then the husband was a fucking idiot. Felix was probably one of the dumbest protagonists I've ever experienced in a story. It took me out of the story so many times where I was just like, wow, he really decided to do that, huh? This was a thing that a human with a brain decided to do. So I really feel like the author had really good bones for a story, because every time the story got going, and it was in the moment, creature-driven drama, where it was the actual fight, flight, and dealing with this insanity, it was handled beautifully. I got sucked in. I got sucked. This story sucked me. But then it would all come crashing down to an abrupt halt when Nathan's like, my wife's asleep in the other room.
let's talk to her mom about this picture book. I'm Nathan. I'm not Nathan. I'm Felix. I'm a fucking idiot.
I don't know. I would give, if I had to rate this story, I would say this story gets a B- from me. I think it's still a good story. It still deserves all the praise it gets. I imagine the book fixes a lot of the problems I have. I mean, this is a 10-year-old story written for No Sleep under No Sleep's guidelines. And it's, I believe it was the first story this author wrote. If not, it was, I mean, it seems like it anyway. So what do I think? Final grade, B-. Excellent actual horror writing in terms of the scenes where the monster is present. I think the monster design was excellent. I think that how the monster interacted, the Skinwalker-esque nature of it, the parroting of different phrases, and then I do really like how the only original phrase it said was a mixture of different voices, each word basically stolen from a different body that it killed or copied, and it then used those to form its own unique sentence. That was really cool. That was one of the highlights in terms of like the monster design for me. Visually, the monster was good. I like the whole it skins people and wears them. I like skinning people. I like the whole it skins people and wears them to try to like make itself feel human. But that's about all the praise I'll give. You've already heard over the course of the story why I didn't like the characters or why they bothered me. So I'm not going to rehash them. I don't need to be poo-pooing the story for being good. It's B-. That's passing. Your parents look at a B- and they go, you could have gotten a B. B- seems weird, but you know what? You're good, champ. Now, chat, it is late. I am supposed to be off already. My wife is on her way home. So I'm going to say, I love you so much. Thank you for hanging out today. I know streams are a little weird this week. They're shorter than they should be, but I plan on streaming as much as I can. I'm sorry that I hurt myself in the same week as my debut. It's very Madigan of me, very me-coded to hurt myself instantly, but that's it. No buts. But I'll see you maybe tomorrow. I might play some RuneScape tomorrow. I don't know. Depends on how I'm feeling. I love you all. I'll keep apologizing, Neo. It's my kryptonite. I love you all. Goodbye. Mwah, 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 mwah. Goodbye. Bye.
Goodbye.